Good morning. Welcome on in, DJ and PK. I'm PK. DJ, he's off today. He'll be back tomorrow. He spent some time away. I didn't spend any time away. Man, I was glued to the television all weekend long. What a great sports weekend we had. Started with, where do you want to start? Basketball? Yeah, no problemo, huh? Couple of Game 7s yesterday that were super exciting. I realized that the Pacers blew out the New York Knicks, but how about that series, man? First 6 games, only the home team wins. You're figuring New York going to be back at the Garden, the world's most famous arena, and yet the Pacers take it to them, and now they will advance to take on the Boston Celtics. Sort of think it was sort of academic anyway as far as who advanced, because I'm going to pick Boston, as most people will. Understood. And the Knicks, I think they just ran out of gas. Had some injuries, no rim protection, and they couldn't get the job done. Knick fans tortured again. First conference finals in over 20 years. And then they come up short. Game 7 losses at home are rare. And if we had DJ here today, he could tell you what those stats are, but you're going to have to wait or look them up for yourself. And I know they're rare, and I don't need to know the exact numbers. That's where Stat Boy comes in, but he's not here today. I just know that it was a bad loss for the Knicks. And then Game 7 later on, Denver and Minnesota. How about that rally by Minnesota? Man, exciting game. And then we saw on Saturday, the Dallas Mavericks 1-point win to send the OKC Thunder home. All sorts of fun with basketball. We'll hit that all morning, obviously. The 2 Game 7s. And then I was hoping for maybe Oklahoma City to be able to win that game to get a Game 7 in that series, but no such luck. Doncic and company doing his thing, and everybody else getting some role players played well. Foul at the end by SGA and Dallas, who did not make the playoffs last year. Do you realize Dallas did not make the playoffs last year? And we know they sat their guys so they could keep their pick. Who was their pick? It was the kid Lively, right, out of Duke, and he played very, very well for them. You know, their role players really, really stepped up. They got 2 stars at the top. Irving, and I still think he's a star, and then Doncic, who's an all NBA caliber player, that's for sure, doing his thing. And then some role players, and then what do you got? Lo and behold, you got them advancing. And also yesterday, we had golf, the PGA Championship. Yeah. What a way it ended. Maybe the course was too easy. Schauffele, just too many guys, 20 and under. And we know how it began. Friday morning, right? Yeah. Scotty Scheffler. Still an unbelievable story. I mean, he was in contention a little bit. It's hard to be in contention every single time. Golf is too fickle that way. Guys get hot. You get in a groove. Scheffler's still the number 1 player. And also, too, we can't forget about soccer, can we? RSL. 5-3. How about that, man? That was incredible. Was it not? Over Colorado, their bitter rival. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set it up now, move on to the next segment. We're going to let you hear from Pablo Mastroeni, our guy. Joined us on Friday and Saturday night. He talked about that great win. And then we'll hear from Emeka Eneli. And let's go right now to break. And then when we come back, you will hear those two, the coach and the player, as I said. Stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome on in, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK. DJ off today. Hey, soccer, it takes its heat. A lot of people don't like it, but not enough action. Well, there was certainly a ton of action on Saturday as RSL avenges their only home loss of the season. Gets down 0-2, gets down 3-2, and still manages to win. Going away in soccer, 5-3. Let's hear from Pablo Mastroeni. And then we will hear from our guy, Emeka Eneli, right now.
There were a lot of questions that I could have asked throughout the whole match, but I got asked about the emotions after that game winner from Gomez. It seemed like the whole team was just up out of their seats and just going crazy.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most emotional games that I've experienced probably since Dami's last touch to get us in the playoffs in 2021. I haven't felt that type of energy from the group. With the steely mindset to stay in it when we weren't at our best. But again, we talk about mental fortitude all the time. And the guys after the game mentioned the same. And they feel like, whether we're playing great or we're not playing well, whether we're winning or we're behind it, the people in this room have incredible mindsets. And I think, and credit to the fans who really push the group forward. And again, that's what home field's all about. And so I think it all kind of culminated into this moment tonight, which was a special moment against, our biggest rivals on a day where it could have definitely gone pear-shaped. But again, speaking to the resiliency of the guys' mindset was really the X factor tonight.
And then talking about the guys who scored the goals, Chicho and Gomez both with 2. Chicho's been a stalwart. He's been, pretty consistent throughout. Gomez, at his young age and his rapid improvement, is the sky the limit for him?
I mentioned this last year. What Gomez is doing has finally translated from the practice field to the game field on the stage. Last year, he was, banging goals in for fun. So everything that you're seeing this year is what he's doing last year in training. What the difficulty was understanding how to achieve the same thing with real pressure. And there's always a moment in a player's life, player's career, where that switch goes off. And when you think you can, you start doing it. And again, I think Chicho having the kind of year he's having has definitely attracted a lot of attention his way. Andres is doing a good job of reaping the benefits of that. Luna's doing a great job. Crooks is doing a great job. So, our attacking group has been fantastic. I think the sky is the limit. And the other thing with Andres that is very unique is his ability to defend for the team. And oftentimes when you have a winger that is that prolific in the attack, he's walking back. But he's sacrificing everything for the group. And when you put all that together, he's one of the more dangerous wingers in this league.
Landon, you want to go next?
Pablo. The crowd was super into it tonight. Talk about maybe what that means to the players when you're down a goal in a rivalry game and the crowd is just providing that excitement.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said it in my interview after the game. The 12th man was spectacular tonight because, again, I think we're on the sidelines trying to, get the guys engaged. But it's a lot different when there's 4 of us on the sidelines versus 25,000 fans that are really pushing the team forward, that are tilting the field, that are instilling belief in the guys in moments that are very difficult. And so, again, I think that's what made this game special. The eruption after the goals, you felt it in your soul. And so if I feel it on the sidelines, imagine what the players who have battled 3 games in a week, who are tired, who are below, who are losing the game, the energy that brings to them was spectacular tonight.
Hey, Pablo, rough start. You want to talk a little bit about what you saw and how those first 2 goals played out?
Yeah. So, I think, again, a lot of things, and again, we're in the part of the season where this was really our toughest stretch as far as games. And so, we have to analyze, should we have put fresher legs out on the field? But given the continuity of the group and the performances that we had in the previous 2 games, I felt that it was the best way to go to start the game. However, I felt like we were flat. We were second to any loose ball. There wasn't the pep that we've had. And so these are great learning experiences for us as a coaching staff to make sure that, you don't know until you go through it. And so I thought we were a bit sluggish, a bit tentative. The tempo of the game was a bit slow. 2 goals that they conceded we didn't really they didn't have to work really hard for, I felt like. And that's on all of us. That's not on the back line. That's on everyone that was on the field tonight and on the sidelines tonight. So, but I think what sticks out in my mind is when we're on the front foot defensively, that engages us to be more proactive offensively. And I just felt like we weren't asking any questions defensively, which allowed them to walk the ball up the field. And so I think in the second half, we had a better approach to the game, better mindset. And I thought the guys were spectacular. And I think what makes a team great is, because you can talk about all the tactics you want. At the end of the day, football comes down to the little individual battles on the field. And when you have a group of guys that are willing to do whatever it takes to win a game, if they're not feeling great, if they're down 2-0, you can bring up all these things. But the mindset of everyone on that field to say, you know what, we're down 3-2, and there's only 10 minutes left, but we're going to win this game. You know, that you can't coach. That is the guys in the locker room committing to one another to be better than they were the game before. And for me, I think that's the greatest takeaway from this game, especially a derby in any sport. There's heightened emotion, and when you can tilt the field in your advantage and you have 25,000 fans going nuts, it's a great moment, especially coming from behind and winning the game in the fashion that we did.
Awesome, thanks.
Pablo, congratulations on the win again. Can you walk us through a little bit through the subs that you made tonight? You know, it seemed maybe you hold off Fidel a little bit. You also was out maybe a little Catranes and Matt were a little upset coming off.
Yeah, I think when you're in the run of form that we're currently in, no one wants to come off the field. You're right, and that's and I think that's what makes our team great. That's what makes these guys great is they're competitors. They never want to be taken out, right? And in the world that we coaches live in is how do we inject some fresh legs? How do we inject a different look to ask questions of what Colorado's doing? And so, as I think it was in the 80th minute, we're going to put Fidel in, and we're going to take Brody out, and we're going to have him play in the right half space and press out from there. And we're going to play 3 in the back, and then we scored the goal. So then we held it off. But again, then the Ojeda sub was more that he put one of his largest physical loads against Seattle, and Nelson has been waiting for an opportunity to get in there, and I thought tonight he was fantastic. And this is what we've been, this is what we and Nelson has been waiting for is a performance that makes it so we have 3 starting central midfielders, and he did that tonight. And then Chang, and then Quentin for Brody was more. They're going to have set pieces. They're going to have a lot of opportunities to just lump them on the box. Let's get some height out there. And then Chang for Luna was more. Luna's played 3 great consecutive games and has reached the form that he was at the end of last year when he was carrying our group. And it was just basically about getting some fresh legs out there. And Chang, he went in there and did a great job and was a big part of the Anderson's goal. And so then Anderson was obviously, they play with a high line. How do we threaten the space behind? And he did it a couple times. He had 2 really good looks on goal, and for him to score that goal was a big thing for Anderson because he's been close all year. But that goal really, again, all these moments really inject belief and into the group. And so we got a great team, and we got a great mindset.
And last question for me. Last Wednesday, you talked about how there isn't really much of a home field advantage, but today it seems like the crowd and everything pushed the team to go up. Are we still on the same page there?
No, I think home field advantage is the onus is on us players to make the home field advantage. The fans show up every game. So the onus is on us to continue to perform at a high level that gets the fans excited, that push the team forward. It's a symbiotic relationship. Without players, there's no fans. Without fans, the players don't play for anything. And so the onus is on us as a team to make this a home field, to make this place a home field advantage.
Thank you.
Let's go to Justin Ruderman on Zoom.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for your time. Just in terms of Chicho, when you bring in Anderson Julio and put him in the, 9, now you have Chicho in the 10. How does it, or second striker kind of role, how does it help the team to know that wherever you put him, whether it's the 9 kind of second striker role, he's going to contribute, he's going to kind of drive this team on to victories like this?
Yeah, no, I think, again, Chicho is a player that I think from a deep, from a withdrawn striker position, and he's playing in the right half space, he's got an ability to combine really well with Andreas, link up with Ando, hit a big switch. I mean, he is a playmaker. And so, the only ask with Chicho is we put him out there to make sure that when we get the ball and or we break lines, is that he gets in the box and he's contributing on that end. And he does that. And so now it's more like we have 2 strikers on the field that can both score goals, but bring in Chicho's attacking qualities to our build is something that we've seen over the course of these last 14 games. And he does a really good job of that and getting in the box. And so now there's really 2 guys in that area that have goals in them. And I think he's done a great job in at the 9 and at the 10 as well.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the craziest games I've been a part of, but the belief in the team, the belief in each other that even when we went down 2-0 and then went down 3-2, that we were always going to get back in the game. I think we showed that and showed our mentality as well throughout the entire game. And obviously the result then played its part for us. So very, very happy for that.
So it's not going to count in the books, but you basically got an assist on Chicho's second goal. It seems like you and Ojeda and also Palacio today were taking a lot of chances from distance. Have you guys been practicing on that to try to get more opportunities at goal, or is that just something that just naturally happened today because of the way that the game was playing out?
I think it just kind of naturally happened how the game was playing out. The way we play, we try and really pin teams in. So sometimes, they have 9, 10 players behind the ball, and that allows a lot of space for, us pivots, our 10s as well, like at the top of the box whenever balls like bounce out off of a cross or anything like that. So I think just taking an opportunity when we have the chance. And I was able to do that off the corner, obviously, hit the crossbar, and then Chicho finished it.
And then I asked Pablo about you earlier as well, and he spoke very highly of you, basically saying that the sky's the limit for you. What are your goals and aspirations as far as your career?
Good question. I think I really just focus on the present. So really just focused on this season, trying to play the best that I can, play as many minutes as I can, and just help the team win the league, win the Supporters Shield, Leagues Cup. So, I'll just focus on what I can do this season, and then after that, reevaluate where I want to go, my heights, my things that I want to do. But really just, I really try and focus on the present and what's going on right now.
Emeka, you are one of the players that has played pretty much every minute so far in the season. And Pablo described you as a key player for what Real Salt is doing. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very happy. I mean, whenever you have the trust of your manager, it's just a great feeling because you feel like it excels your game, having that confidence from Pablo. So I'm very grateful for that and just want to continue to build on that.
Yeah. Your relationship on the field with Ojeda seems like you guys know where you are without seeing each other. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you guys talked about a lot in practice, or how did that come to be where you guys know where you are?
Yeah, I think it just comes through training. We do a lot of pivot work individually. Me, Ojeda, Nelson, just us 3. After trainings or before trainings or in between trainings, things like that. And I think just getting a feel for each other is what we've done really well, and it translates to the game. So the more pivot work we do in training, the better it looks in games. We kind of just know where each other is at. I know his tendencies pretty well. I think he knows my tendencies really well. So I think it kind of just pairs together very well, and we just want to continue to build on that, throughout the season. Because I think it could be even better.
Emeka, congratulations on the win. And my question for you is, You seem to be taking really good angles and then getting physical at just the right time and just the right amount of physicality. How do you balance that out with taking fouls, giving fouls, and kind of that balance there?
I think it's just kind of second nature and just knowing where the opponent is, because like the ball, I think there was one time it happened in the second half, their striker that came on, the ball bounced up in the air, and like I took one or two glances before, and then I took the touch, and I knew he was coming from behind me. So if you can get your body in front of him and then kind of slow down a little bit, you can draw almost any foul as long as you're strong enough to keep that ball and don't let it get poked away. So I think I've been doing that for a long time, even when I was playing in college. It's just kind of second nature to me, protecting the ball like that and just really knowing about your surroundings and your awareness. And it allows you to protect the ball really well and draw those type of fouls.
We can go to.
Oh, yeah, English, yeah. Emeka, just one question for me. So you had to come back not just once, but twice, because you guys were down 2-0. You guys got the 2-2, and then 3-2. You guys got to come back. So my question is, how do you stay calm during those times? Because tensions are high, everyone's pushing around. Obviously, it's a rivalry against Colorado Rapids. So how do you just stay calm to not get a hot head and maybe get a card, the dumb card, maybe even get a red card at that moment?
I think it's just belief in the way we want to play, our structure, and belief in one another. I mean, I know we played Colorado 2 months ago here. We went down 2-1, and we kind of went away from what we were trying to do, how we were trying to play, and then ended up losing the game 2-1. We went down 2-0 here, and I think it's 2 months later, obviously, in the season. We've matured a little bit, so we kind of know how we want to play. And even if, no matter the score line, no matter if we're home or away, we want to play that same way. And so I think just continuing to do that, when us as a team know that that's our structure and that we have belief in each other, no matter what the score is, we're going to try and play how we want to play. And we have that belief that we're always going to come back in a game. And so when we went down 2-0, there's belief we were going to come back and make it 2-2. We went down 3-2, even though it took a long time, just continuing to chip away and, not getting frustrated, not being impatient, because as long as we, continue to do what we do, stick to what we know how to do, the goals will hopefully come. And obviously they did today, and so very, very happy for that. Yeah.
We can go to Carson on Zoom.
Hey, Emeka. Great game today. You've been kind of Mr. Consistent throughout the whole season. What do you do to make sure you're consistent every game?
Good question. I think trying to reset after each game. You can't really look too far in advance in the season. There's so many games. If you do that, you mentally you won't keep up. So I really just try and focus on the next day at hand, even if it's just training. We play on Saturday, so we have Sunday, Monday off, but just focus on the training on Tuesday, try and get one day better then. And then that goes into Wednesday, into Thursday, into Friday, and then game day on Saturday. So I think just really focusing on the day in hand, whether it's a training, whether it's a game, it keeps you mentally locked in and mentally focused. And we've played 14, 15 games so far this season, and it's done me well. So hopefully it can continue on that.
You talk a lot about the mentality of things. Or do you have routines you do every game day, before every practice? What can you tell us about that?
I wouldn't say, I guess before a game, I do the same thing every time before a game, breakfast, and I just relax, take a nap before the game, then pregame meal, maybe watch a show for 30 minutes, and then kind of just get ready for the game. But it's not really I don't really have anything super, super specific. I think you're just finding what works for you, So I just kind of fell into that routine early on in the season, and I've continued with it, and it's just been super helpful. And I think another thing is, my coach at Cornell, I still talk to him. He's hopefully going to come out here in the summer. And I think before Cornell, I didn't really focus on mentality or anything like that. But going to Cornell and meeting him, he was basically all about mentality. And I think it kind of made me look at the game in a different way. Obviously, you need the technical aspects, the physical aspects. But I think now mentally just being able to be focused 90 minutes the entire game, not letting your opponent, see a soft side in you. Just things like that just really can take you a long way. And I kind of learned that from him. So just continuing to build on that, work on that, because I think every single day, you can get better physically, you can get better technically, you can get better mentally. So just continuing to try and, improve in those aspects.
Thank you, Emeka.
Emeka, I just got one last question. So it's only been 14 games under this kind of new model, this new setup. How much more can you guys improve on it? Is it just detail and nuance, or is there still a lot of room for cohesion and improvement?
I think it's both. Whenever you're kind of learning a new system, like 14 games seems like a lot, but it's really not, because I feel like for teams to really get their structure or their system down, it can take years. And obviously, as you get on later in the season, it's just smaller details, things like that, which is some things we're trying to focus on. But I think just each day, each week, trying to just get a little bit better. Not make super big strides, because it's not possible, but just small strides each day will add up throughout the season. And then we do that, and hopefully just see where it takes us.
There they are, the two guys that we were hearing from on Saturday night. It's a fun game. I watched it. I absolutely watched it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I know. I'm not a big soccer guy, but I enjoyed that. Well, also this week we had the PGA Championship. Golf is on the mind. And we're going to talk some local golf next. Stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. I'm PK. DJ's off today. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. What do you know? PGA Championship in the books. 2 majors done. Xander Schauffele got the lead early on Friday. Got a little tight, but then he played well enough to win it on Sunday. And with golf on the mind, it's golf season now, that's for sure, right? Summer is just about here. Final days of spring. School getting out. The high schools here in the next week or two. Thinking about all the stuff that's going on. Golf is definitely on the minds of many people. And in October, the PGA is going to come to St. George area at Black Desert. Well, we got David Viveiros, who is the director of events there. He's going to tell us all about it. Stay with us right here as we listen to the interview with David Viveiros. Well, I'm a golf guy, and I'm jacked for it. I mean, there's no question about it. I've been down there a couple of times. I was down there when the PGA person from Ponte Verde was there. I think it might have been when they were figuring out whether to make it a go or not. And I remember talking to him, and I talked with him for 2 days and went out on the course, and no one was there at that time. It was in the afternoon. And then the next day, he and Patrick Manning, they were the developer, were there scouting out where to put seats and stuff and trying to figure it all out. And this was a year ago, so they were already well into knee deep into making this thing happen, and now we're just a few months away. I mean, I couldn't be more excited. I think it's going to be just unbelievable. It's crazy to think about what has happened in our sports and, well, I'll say community, but in this case, I'll go state, obviously, since it's a few hours away. When I first got here, it was the Jazz and then BYU Utah playing in the Mountain West. And now you look at it, we've got a soccer team, we've got the hockey team, we've got, first it was Pac-12, and now it's Big 12 with both of these teams, and then the golf coming. I mean, this state has just exploded sports-wise to levels that I didn't really see when I first moved here.
No, PK, I could not agree with you more. I mean, I've been in this state for 27 years doing sports business and college athletics, pro sports, and events, major events. And it really comes down to money. And I think the last 15 years is on the corporate side and the business side, the technology side. I mean, we just exploded with success. There are several companies in the northern Utah area and southern Utah that have just exploded that has allowed this to take place. That's really what's going on. But the PGA Tour coming is directly correlated with business success. This is one sport that will not exist if it wasn't for business sponsorships. That's what it comes down to. And we're grateful for that. We see that, and our company, Black Desert Resort and Reef Capital, we are very successful, but there are so many other sponsors that are coming in. We get calls daily for the sponsorships, the pro-ams, the Monday, the officials. So everything's being filled up, but there's still spots left. So please call in, go to our website, blackdesertevents.com, click on the PGA Tour link that takes you directly to our website, and then go explore the Champions Club, the hospitality experiences, the Greater Zion Club. You will not be disappointed. And when we built this as a team, we wanted to build it so that people from Utah, when they got down there, they were going to be they are going to appreciate it. They're like, yes, this is our tour event. And that's what we've done. And I think come October, PK, they're going to love it.
David Viveiros, Director of Championship Events at Black Desert, joining us now. How many people do you think, do you anticipate the course being able to handle in terms of spectators?
10 to 12,000. That's the cap. 10 to 12,000. Anything more than that, we've been told by the PGA Tour and by city officials and county officials that it would be a complicating, challenging matter for us. But 10 to 12,000 is what we can handle per day. So we have, and it's open to the public on Wednesday, starting Wednesday for the official Pro-Am.
Yeah.
So unlike other tournaments that do 4 days that they're open, we're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But that's what we're expecting. And here's a great tidbit too, PK, and where the excitement's building. So I think it was May 8th. No, it was April 8th or 15th. Our director of volunteers, we've been collecting people who are interested in volunteering for the tour event. And we have a database of 2,500 of people who have, put their name down. And I think it was April 8th or 15th, we pressed one button, send out to this database. 16 hours later, we had to shut it down because we had 975 volunteers paid and registered. And now we've closed it, and we have 1,200 with like 300 of them being on the waiting list.
Really?
So that is an indicator, PK and Riley, that there's excitement just on the volunteer side. We can only imagine on the spectator side when we get closer.
The thing that I like, having been to many golf tours, I've been to the Waste Management. I have the Phoenix background. My wife's from Phoenix, so we go down. I mean, it's an absolute zoo, and this year it really blew up and got out of control. And I don't really get into it. Although I go as a credentialed guy and try to do some interviews. I interviewed Johnny Miller down there and Tony, and so it's a little bit different. So it's a combination of work, but it really is out of control in terms of the number of people. It's like for people like myself who want to go watch golf and aren't interested in getting drunk, that it's not really conducive. And I go to the Palm Springs because they do the 3 different courses and the crowds there are much smaller. I want to see golf, right? And so from that amount of people, if you have the opportunity to go, that it's not an overwhelming amount, that it's actually going to help you in your spectatorship, so to speak, to be able to watch the highest quality golf and not feel like you're smothered by a bunch of people and you're 20 people deep on every single shot.
No, you bring up a great point, PK. The course, designed and built by Tom Weiskopf, the legend, and who we all love. And actually, just last night at the city council in Ivins, they just voted that our PGA tournament week is now Tom Weiskopf week.
Oh, nice.
To let you know.
Yeah.
So
and he's
that's
deceased.
a great. Oh yeah, and Patrick Manning and Jared Lucero, who are the masterminds behind Black Desert Resort, they just loved working with Tom Weiskopf. He had a huge impact on them. But to your point, the course is built narrow, so we can't have the 25,000 people per day. And so what we did, this is where we brought in some other people that we've consulted with. We built a tournament that's based around VIP hospitality experiences. So our GA, I believe, we're only going to allow like 1,500 to 2,000 per day, but our VIP experiences is where it's at, where we want you to watch golf. And that's about 5,500 to 6,000 VIP experiences. And so it's a little different than your normal course that's so wide. And because of that, we want you to have a great golf hospitality experience and not just, for the masses. Now, we will have beer there, but it's going to be heavily looked at. So we don't have the experiences like, down south in Arizona with the waste management. So we get what you're saying, but we're going to offer that. It's going to be great. And, but it will be, we think it's going to be a great experience for everybody, those who drink or don't drink.
Right. I mean, that's the Phoenix Open rep, is to party like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so be it. And good for them. The People's Open, blah, blah, blah. And the gorgeous weather in the winter, people plan vacations around it here. You'll have gorgeous weather in the fall as far as that goes. Do you know, or when will you know, when the field will be nailed down?
The field, again, a great question. I think it's either open or will open in June. The players can start registering for the event. But to the meat of your question, like the named players, they usually don't register or announce until like a week, 2-3 weeks before the event. We are hearing some people who I'm not allowed to disclose who are interested in playing, and there are some good names. So we're expecting 2 to 4, maybe 6 really good name players. I'll tell you what we are hearing though from when we announced last June, when you were out there, when I saw you out there golfing with your wife.
Yeah.
Since last June, what we are hearing is almost from people that we talked to in northern Utah, southern Utah, potential spectators, sponsors. We're not initiating this conversation, but we're hearing there's almost this expectation that everyone wants Tony Finau to play in his backyard.
Right.
That is an overwhelming fact that we're hearing from the people in Utah.
No question.
That there's this anticipation that Tony's playing, right? And we can't answer that. We're like, yeah, we love him to play, and we're talking to him, but he's got bigger fish to fry right now. He's on tour playing and getting ready for the majors.
Yeah.
But the expectation, they overwhelming everyone 100%. Tony's playing, right? Well, yes, we would love him to play, but that's the expectation. They want Finau to play in his backyard. I think there will be some disappointment if he doesn't.
Yeah, and I think Mike Weir is going to come down.
Yes.
I talked to him.
How did you know that?
I talked to him.
Yeah, he is coming down.
Yeah.
That's probably room for another interview and conversation with Patrick Manning. If you can hold off on that one, Mike Weir is playing. There is another individual, and there's a good reason for these two to be playing. But I'd like to reserve those questions for another interview with Patrick Manning.
Absolutely.
He's so big for the community. Patrick has done incredible stuff, and he's the one that actually lobbied the PGA Tour for those two to come play. And there's background story on it. One's a really cool background story. So if you can just reserve that question for a Patrick Manning interview, I think the people would love to hear what Patrick has to say about Mike Weir and the other player that's coming.
Okay, well, we'll have to get on it. I might have to text him here real soon to see him come on our air to tell us, because now you got me super intrigued, and I'm sure if I am, that the community would be, because this is a great golf state as far as that goes. I think it's just going to be absolutely spectacular. And I've had multiple conversations with Patrick as far as what the entire development is going to be about. What's the level of progression there?
The resort, there's the resort itself, meaning the hotel, the conference center, the pro shop, and the 3 restaurants at the hotel site. All of that will be built except for one wing on the, I believe it's the south side of the structure. So we are going to be open at full, I think almost full capacity. I think 100 rooms less than what we wanted because of that one wing. there will be aspects of the full resort, like the family village, the water park area in the boardwalk, that will not be completed until Q3 25 and Q1 26. That's when it's really going to be fully completed. But as Kelly Jensen, the Vice President of Tournament Business Affairs for the PGA Tour, said, the last time he came, he looked around and said, well, doesn't matter to us. That ball is dropping on October 10th. So please get here. No matter what it looks like, it's dropping, and we're going to play the tournament.
David Viveiros, Director of Championship Events for Black Desert. Now, before we let you go, I'd be remiss in neglecting to talk about the LPGA, too. I mean, because I'm fired up for that, and that is a year from now. Give us a little update on that.
Oh, yeah. We are right now, we have initial renderings from John Coolball, our operations director, who's overseeing that aspect of the LPGA as well. And we're going to start breaking down our what it's going to look like, and then our packages, our sponsor packages. But we will be actively, as a team, approaching some sponsors. We have already received commitments from a handful of sponsors for the LPGA event next year. So it's the interest is there to just be behind the best women golfers in the world. And I love saying that phrase because I worked so hard to bring the LPGA here for so many years, and to have Patrick and Jared see that same vision and them, they are behind this. It's going to almost look like the same way we are with the PGA Tour, just a little additions here, a little subtractions there, but it's going to look great for the ladies. We are going to be all in for treating these ladies like queens when they get here. That's the whole goal. But we are looking forward to it, and the sponsorship interest is there, and we're signing them. And it's not going to be a long time. It's going to come quicker than we think. So it's only next year, this time period. Right. Next year is when the LPGA will take place.
Yep. David, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate the update.
Thanks, Riley. Thanks, PK. Take care, guys.
There you go. That's David Viveiros. Man, it's going to be so cool. The tournament is coming to the St. George area. Really looking forward to it. Got to tell you, DJ and PK is proudly presented by Murdoch Chevrolet, and is proudly serving Utah since 1926. Also, how about America First Credit Union? Get the official debit cards of the Utah Jazz, University of Utah Sports, Real Salt Lake, and more exclusively at America First Credit Union. Well, what's trending is coming up. We got tons to talk about, man, today for sure. What a ball game in Denver. Game 7. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. Wow, what a great game that was. Stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Now it's Halliburton down the right side. He'll get the 3 back. If he can hit the free throw, he scores as he's fouled.
In the third quarter, I went to swipe the ball on Tyrese, and I hit his leg, and yeah.
Timberwolves have possession. There's only 5 to shoot. They get it into Rudy along the baseline. He's got a tough fall away. It's up. Oh, it drops in. It could be your night. Rudy Gobert beats the shot clock buzzer with a heave and a prayer over Jokic from 18 feet out. Nuggets won't foul here with 7 on the shot clock. Conley left ankle. Drives on Michael Porter Jr. Runs it up. No. Slam follow. Karl Anthony Towns. He soared in from the wing. He puts the Wolves up 7 with 39 seconds left.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid questions.
Sore loser, Mikey. Stupid bleep questions. The season's over. How hard is it? That's a legitimate question. And your team blew the big lead. Your team lost 3 out of 4 at home. Home court's supposed to matter. It doesn't matter squat. Good teams don't need home court to win. I've been saying it 1,000 times. I don't care what stats there are. In fact, not only 1, but 2 home teams lost Game 7s yesterday. How about that? Of course, the big one is Minnesota. Largest comeback in Game 7 history. Trailing by 15 at halftime, and they beat the Nuggets in Denver. Are we happy for Rudy? Are we happy for Mike Conley? Yeah, I mean, I'm not especially happy for them. That would have been fine if Denver would have won. But it's cool to get some new blood in there. How about that? Yeah. Minnesota. Man, looking like they were dead in the water after looking like they were great, going up 2-0, then losing 3 in a row, and coming back and winning Game 7. And they didn't even have a huge game from Anthony Edwards. He was only 6 of 24. Could you imagine if they had lost how much heat he would have taken? It bailed him out. Other guys bailed him out. Jaden McDaniels, 23 points. Yeah. Did you know he was available when the Jazz drafted as a bouquet? Uh-oh. Not only Desmond Bain, but McDaniels, too. That's what it takes. You got to hit on the stars, and they hit on 2 stars, Edwards and Towns. And then you got to make some other additions at the draft, and they hit on McDaniels, and then they traded for Conley and Gobert. That's your starting lineup right there. Keel Alexander Walker, he was 0 for 6, so I don't want to run him in there. How about that? And Denver just could not get it done. Amazing to see, especially when you had big games from Jokic and Murray. 35 and 34 points from those 2 guys, but nobody else did jack squat. So now the Minnesota Timberwolves move on to play the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to favor the Dallas Mavericks to lose. Not to win, to lose. And then also our Indiana Pacers. Yeah. Wow. The Knicks. Let's see. So I listen to NBA radio coming in. I'll only have to hear about maybe 3 more weeks of all Knick talk. You know what I mean, RJ?
Well, you don't like the Knicks?
The Knicks were the team of my youth, actually, but I don't necessarily like to hear about them over and over and over and over. Knicks don't have any rim protection, and that just made Indiana feel free as they shoot 67%, 54 for 3. Historic. No team's ever shot better in that situation. And they turned back them Knicks. And Alec Burks, the former Jazz man with 26. Brunson was human. Only had 17. Di Vincenzo, my paisano, he had 39. So, hey.
Paisano? Is that cousin? Family?
Brother, buddy. You know, those types of things. So we'll see about that. When's this all start? We need TV Boy to tell us.
So Eastern Conference Final starts tomorrow and the Western Conference on Wednesday.
All right, we get right after it, and then it just has all rotation. I was hoping for Dallas to lose so we can get a Game 7 tonight, but we don't. They won, obviously, on Saturday. Celtics going to be without Porzingis, probably for the whole thing. He's got a calf strain, whatever it is there, so sucks for him, but the life of the NBA playoffs goes on, and I've been enjoying it. Now let's move on to the NFL.
Hashtag NFL.
NFL. Fanatics are filing a lawsuit against rookie from Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's breached a contract, Riley.
Already?
The wide receiver was signed with the retailer in May of 23. Fanatics claims that Harrison has refused to fulfill his obligations and also has publicly asserted that the contract does not exist. $1 million. They've got conflicts. So what do you do? Get a better offer someplace else?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's their competition? I don't even know.
Fanatics?
Yeah.
I don't know either, man. Nothing came to mind. But I know it's been an issue there, so we'll see what happens. And did you follow the Raiders at all growing up?
Yeah. I mean, there was only like 3 games that were on TV when I was growing up. You had Raiders, Broncos, and 49ers.
Not Cowboys?
They were always on Monday Night Football, felt like. But, if you were doing the regional broadcast, it was always those 3 teams.
This might be a little bit for you, Tom. Did you ever hear of Jim Otto?
Yes, but it is before my time.
He passed.
Oh.
86, though. So there was a time he was known as Mr. Raider. And the thing about his last name, backwards, forwards, it's spelled the same.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's very interesting.
It'd be cool to be known as Mr. Radar. Mr. Raider. Who's Mr. Aggie?
Oh, Merlin Olsen.
Merlin Olsen, yes. Good response.
It's Merlin Olsen.
He ought to be known as Mr. State of Utah, for that matter, for all the things that he accomplished. Is there a Mr. BYU? Is there a Mr. Utah?
Is it Mr. BYU Lavelle Edwards?
The coach?
Maybe. Steve Young.
Steve Young, but Detmer had a better career. You're going NFL.
Well, Merlin Olsen would be like
Mr. Ram.
Lifetime achievement.
Yeah, but he was an outstanding player for them, though.
Well, so was Steve Young.
Right, but Detmer was better.
Okay, well, I wasn't talking about I was just talking about, like, who's Mr. Aggie? Who's Mr. BYU?
Yeah.
I'd probably go Lavelle.
Lavelle?
No? Who's Mr. BYU to you? Somebody sticking out?
Mr. BYU?
Tom Homo?
Oh. Jesus?
Wow. Ooh, let's wake up, everybody. Let's wake up.
Who's Mr. Utah?
Look busy. He's coming.
Urban?
Not Urban.
Why not? Why not Urban? In that Cincinnati bar?
I mean,
it might be Witt.
Kyle Whittingham is Mr. Utah? A BYU guy? We're not going to tolerate that.
Just saying, he's been there for 30 years and had wild success.
Ooh, I was careful on that one.
I mean, if you really, if we're giving Lavelle, I mean, by the same criteria, we couldn't make Lavelle Mr. BYU either. He's an Aggie. He was a great Aggie.
Yeah, I know, but there wasn't that quite the intensity of the rivalry. Maybe back then it was. I don't know.
I mean,
you're gonna give a BYU guy Mr. Utah?
Listen, Utah and Utah State were the two teams that played on Thanksgiving way back in when my parents were in college, like 70s.
Right.
So if you're talking about Lavelle Edwards,
but that's what I'm saying. They weren't in.
They weren't with BYU.
Yeah. So there wasn't that wasn't the big rival.
All right.
I don't know.
So it's okay. I don't know.
We'll think about that. Let's move on to college football, since we're speaking about it.
Hashtag college football.
Oh my gosh, non-Power 5 schools are reportedly upset with the NCAA's plan to pay back what is expected to be $2.7 billion has been back damage as a result of an expected settlement in the landmark House versus NCAA case that is pending. Member schools are expected to foot $1.6 billion of the damages, with 60% of the money coming from schools outside the Power 5 conferences who are named in the House lawsuit by name. NCAA President Charlie Baker needs to green light from all 32 conferences to move forward with the settlement. What the heck does that mean?
Schools that were not named in this lawsuit are expected to foot the vast majority of the money because the NCAA is named in the suit. Therefore, all member schools under the NCAA's purview are subject to pay.
Jeez, what is this, Perry Mason?
We already had Tom Wistersill, the Big Sky Commissioner, on social media yesterday, asking, quote unquote, asking for a friend. Why are we footing more than 50% of this?
That's what I'm saying. What does it mean? Tom Worcestershire said something?
Yes. Worcestershire sauce. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Florida State has asked the NCAA to reduce and rescind penalties imposed on its football program for the NIL-related recruiting violations after NCAA halted investigations into booster-backed collectives. What are these penalties? Everybody's speeding on the freeway, man. I mean, let's stop these NCAA penalties. This is ridiculous. We're going to penalize Florida State for what everybody's
I think Florida
doing.
State's just kind of fun to penalize.
You don't like Bobby Bowden, Mr. Seminole?
I just, Miami. When Miami, Florida, or Florida State get penalized, I'm kind of like, well, of course they are.
Everybody knows
they should be. They've been doing it for years.
It's not like you don't know anything from your time at NC State, do you?
Yeah, I can neither confirm nor deny any allegations.
Yeah. 1 in 3 high-profile athletes has received abusive messages from individuals with a betting interest, and more than 540 men's and women's college basketball players received similar abuse, including death threats during championship tournaments in March, the NCAA said in a release over the weekend. So they're being told that you need to throw the games? What does that mean?
Could be as simple as you suck to, essentially threats on your life or whatever.
I get that every day.
This is actually a big problem with some of the athletes I work with.
Why?
Well, there's just all kinds of threats that, like, there's people sliding into their DMs, finding out their text number, and like wishing like all kinds of terrible things on these athletes. And you know who the majority of them are? They're bettors.
Utes?
No, they're bettors. They're people who lose bets and they're freaking ticked off that.
That's where we're going with this.
Bunch of degenerates.
I mean, the text messages that Max Hall got, it wasn't just pouring beer on his mother.
Right. I mean, his
mother's a tough lady. She confronted me on the field once after a game.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She punch you?
She got my face.
Did she want to punch you?
Probably. I have a very punchable face. It was after the bowl game, after he dropped, do you really want me to go in it? I said, yes. He asked me a question. I gave him an answer. We reversed the roles there.
Do you really want me to go
when
into
he went
it?
into his tirade,
Yes.
I hated Utah, and ever since they were classless and all that stuff, and poured beer on his mother. Yeah, she claimed she got right in my face on the field. I was doing some television work, so it was dark in Vegas at Sammy Boyd Stadium, but I had the camera guy, so we had the big light. So.
Yeah.
And they won the game. I don't remember who they beat, but everybody was out on the field, and we're doing interviews on the field. And she saw me, came right up to me, and said, "I baited him because he asked me, do you really want me to go into it?" And I said, "Yes, I did. I'm guilty." I asked him a question about, because I knew he had received some stuff, and he said, "You really want me to go into it?" I said, "Yep." So she got my face on the field after the game. That's all right. Hey, the media, that's what we're here for. No big deal. I roll with it. I'm just pointing it out that she did sort of abuse me in a sense, but it was fine. She's protecting her son. I understand it. No problem there. And it's all well. All these years later, he got fired up. Whoop-de-doo. That's what made Max Hall great, his intensity. So I had no problem with it. All right, let's move on to baseball.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Here's a drive out toward right center field. This one's headed for the gap. It falls in. It bounces to the wall. Pilar's on his horse heading for third. He's being waved home. Luis Rengifo on his way to third. An RBI triple. And the Angels with a 4-run 7th inning.
1-2 pitch. Ohtani swings, base hit right field. Here comes Hayward around third. He'll score, and the Dodgers win it 3-2. And the show rolls on at Dodger Stadium.
Duran's ready, and the pitch to Will Brennan. A swing and a drive. High, deep to right. This ball's gone. And a walk-off 3-run home run for Will Brennan. And a mop scene at home.
Exciting Sunday baseball. I guess the thing that matters the most here is Shohei Ohtani. That's his first walk-off for the Dodgers. They beat the Reds 3-2. Good for the Dodgers. I didn't see this coming, man. They're shocking me that they're doing so well with their $8 trillion payroll.
Amazing what the Dodgers can do.
Yeah. They got a 7.5 lead.
It's a great story.
Lead. Yeah, it
great
really
story.
Is. You root for the underdog.
Yeah. Especially here in the US of A, right? Just love a good underdog like the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The Yankees. Cowboys.
Yes.
Duke.
I don't know how can they rise up. They're the Phoenix in the ashes doing what they do.
They just keep coming back. It's amazing how they're able to resurrect the roster every year.
Yeah, the Yankees with 33 wins. How about my Phillies, man? They're rocking, though. They have the best record in baseball right now? Yes, they do. The Philadelphia Phillies and Bryce Harper.
That's your guy.
Yeah, he's a player. I like his intensity. I've
Close
always liked
personal
his
friend of
intensity.
yours?
He's not a personal friend. I don't think I've seen him play for many times over.
I thought
as a
you and his
youngster.
dad would hang out.
Yeah, we would
Vegas.
bench and get tats.
I mean, you guys are both blue collar, you know.
Phil's hammered the Nationals 11-3, and they do have the best record in baseball at 34-14. Yeah, 5-game lead over the Braves. Braves got worked by the Giants yesterday, man. Giants just the Padres. Excuse me, the Padres. The Giants have been hammering the Rockies. The Rockies suck every year. What's their problem? Are you happy? You hate Colorado?
Yeah, I'm happy. I hate the Rockies.
Well, then you should be happy.
It's funny too because I've totally flipped because I was a huge John Elway fan growing up.
Oh, you were?
Again, one of the three games that came on every weekend. Raiders, Broncos, 49ers. Yeah, it was interesting. My NFC team was Steve Young and the 49ers. My AFC team was John Elway and the Broncos.
Well, the Young was a hero here, understood, but you just liked Elway? What was the deal?
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good.
He was the guy.
To me, until Tom Brady surpassed him, Elway was my guy for the GOAT.
I always thought he was, as a young kid growing up, where he played for the Yankees and he played baseball and football. Like that was really cool to me. I thought, that'd be so cool if I could do that.
Yeah, few people can at the level he could. That's for sure. The Bees, they beat the Rainiers 5-3. They hit a 3-run home run, I believe, in the bottom of the final inning as a walk.
Tony Parks was excited.
He was.
Yeah, he was all over it.
Bees are off today, home tomorrow against the Albuquerque Isotopes. Now let's go to the game of the weekend, Yak. He's all excited about this. He's all fuzzy.
#RSL.
Oviedo whips it into the area, goes out the back. Gomez keeps it in. Arango's with him. Back in. Gomez! And this place erupts! RSL 4, Rapids 3.
What play from RSL?
Pandemonium here.
Oh, you look all around the stadium, just goosebumps. Everybody's going nuts on this.
Palacios to Julio. Julio, can he see Gomez? Julio! RSL 5-3. What a game!
What a game. 5-3, scoring explosion. Goals all over the place. Down 0-2, down 3-2. No problemo, Chichu. Who else? I don't recognize that voice.
That'd be the one Landon Southwick filling in for DJ.
Well, I mean, but he's not filling in for DJ. He's filling in for the guy with the accent.
No, Speno's still doing pre, half, and post.
Why didn't he do play-by-play?
They switched it up this year. I don't know.
Oh, why aren't you doing it? You're angling. You're like DJ. You're trying to.
I don't have an accent, PK.
You're trying
That's the
to
problem.
forward your career no matter who you step on.
I don't have an accent. That's my problem.
Yeah, I know, but neither does DJ. You don't have no accent.
You and I both know how he got that gig.
Well, you do it in Mandarin Chinese.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
How did he get that gig?
Tell us.
He made a conscious decision, as it were.
he saw it coming down the pike, so he maneuvered. He denies it, but and then one time you should after the show have him play it. He didn't know I was off that day, but I was at the airport, so I was listening, sitting there waiting. And he just went off like a 5-minute tirade, just hammering me. And now that he's not here to interrupt me. Anytime I make any accusations, he can't just blow them off. He has to defend himself. That's why I make wild accusations against him all the time, because he defends himself.
Yeah. Anderson Julio, though, I will say, one of the nicest guys around.
Got that last goal. I mean, they were already winning, and it looked like the tide had turned, and they were going to win that game. But he put it. What do you do when you hit the equalizer and the go-aheader and then the go-aheader by 2? We need some cool names for that.
Equalizer, the go-ahead, and the dagger, as it were.
All right, let's go on to golf.
#golf.
You've practiced it as a kid thousands and thousands of times, telling yourself it was for this very occasion, to win it all.
Sander with victory at Valhalla.
I think I'd probably be a little bit less of a patient person if that putt didn't lip in, but I mean, I really didn't want to go into a playoff against Bryson. It would have been a lot of work. So I just told myself this is my opportunity and just capture it.
Capture it, he did. Led on Thursday, and most importantly, he led on Sunday. Xander Schauffele. Well, Bob Casper coming up at 9 o'clock to talk about that. Tony Finau finished tied for 18th at 11 under. Fun golf tournament. It'll always be remembered as the Scotty Scheffler went into slammer for a day or a morning anyway.
Please tell me you saw Max Homa's tweet about this.
What did he say?
He said, I lost to a guy who was in the slammer on Friday morning. That we move on to Colonial now or something.
Max Homa's a funny dude.
Dude always nails it, it feels like.
Now we got to wait. We got another month before the U.S. Open, and we're halfway home with the majors this year. Everything goes by fast, that's for sure. Let's go to NHL.
#NHL.
Miller against Draisaitl. Right off the draw, buried Evander Kane, and it could be lights out. Right off the draw, Kane blisters it past Shelov's 5-1 Edmonton, and there will be a Game 7.
You got Edmonton and Vancouver tonight, Game 7, 7 o'clock ESPN. The winner will face the Stars of Dallas, who have advanced. And the Western Conference Finals begin later this week on Thursday. What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small to get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. And I told you about Casper coming on. We're also going to do our college football preview in the Big 12. We'll get to that right coming back at 7:30 at the bottom of the hour. Matt Tate, who covers the Kansas Jayhawks for the Perpetual Sports Network. Riley Jensen sitting in for DJ. We'll get to the NBA, get the whole bunch of stuff. How happy are you for the ex-Jazz guys? Does it burn you that they're winning, or are you happy for them? Stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Would you rather have a top 3 pick or 3 first-rounders like you did last year?
Top 5 in this draft. No one knows who the number 1 consensus guy really is, even though it looks like Alex Sarr is the guy that's going to be targeted. I don't want 3 guys from this draft because I've already got 3 rookies from last year's good draft. So I'm going to add 3 more this year from a mediocre draft class. I want to be able to choose the exact guy I want. I'm going to evaluate this draft as thoroughly as I can. I want to be in a position where I can go get the best player I think is in this draft. Everyone's going to miss on the best. This is going to be like 2013, where the best player taken could be taken in the middle of the round. Go move up in the top 5 and go get the guy you really, really want, and then trade your other picks.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Get the official debit cards of the Utah Jazz, University of Utah Sports, Real Salt Lake, and more exclusively at America First Credit Union. Got a lot of basketball we got to cover, but we're going to get some college football as we are bearing down on summer workouts, getting underway here in a little bit in the Big 12. It's the Big 12. Joining us right now is Matt Tate covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Perpetual Sports Network. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going out there?
It's going okay. Yeah, it's going fine. We love our college football, man, that's for sure. And for the first time in over a decade, BYU and Utah are going to be reunited. I'm not sure for the Utes it feels so good because they were loving the Pac-12 experience, and they were good for the Pac-12 and vice versa, but that is over. It's done with. And I grew up in Arizona, went to a Pac-12, Pac-10 school back then. That's all I've known. But nevertheless, that's history now. We got to move on to the Big 12. Covered BYU. Was that your game last year for BYU's first Big 12 game against Kansas it was? We know Kansas won that ball game. I guess as I look at Kansas, I don't want to say that it begins and ends, but I think a lot of it goes into the health of Jalen Daniels at quarterback, because I can make a case that when he's on and healthy, he's as good as anybody in the conference. But he's had some injuries, right, obviously. So what is the status of Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, they continue to say and do and show all the right things that, he's throwing and he's progressing. I think one of the things they're doing, this spring and into the off season, or the summer off season anyway, is, just really making sure they don't push him too far, too fast. It's important, obviously. You mentioned it. He's what makes this team go in so many ways, not just with his play, but with just his personality. I mean, he's just the kind of guy that when he's out there, the team's better. He doesn't play D-line, but he makes the D-lineman better. He doesn't play in the secondary, but he makes the secondary better. And obviously he makes receivers and running backs and O-line play better, because that's where he can actually impact the game. But there's just something about his charisma, his character, his personality, his swagger, really, that when they have their guy, man, they all feel a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. And so he's a huge part of it. They were so lucky last year that they had a guy like Jason Bean who took over down the stretch and finished the season out, because Jalen got injured just before that Texas game. And Bean was a veteran guy. He's one of the fastest guys in the Big 12. He had that speed, was a real weapon, but he also could throw the ball. And again, veteran guy who when they lost Jalen, even though it was a totally different look in some ways, they didn't really miss a beat, because Jason Bean was an experienced guy and a mature guy who could handle that, taking over on the fly as the second-string QB and all that. They don't really have that this year. That's not to say the guys behind Jalen can't play. There's a couple guys that can play, but if that were to happen again, I think it would be a totally different circumstance, and you might not be as comfortable and in as good a shape as you were with Bean. So you said it. He's got to stay healthy, but not just because of how he throws the ball and how he moves around. It's so much more than that with this team. I mean, dating back even 3 years ago when he first got on campus, right away as a 17-year-old freshman, he had that fire, he had that smile, he had that swagger, and he was a huge part of starting this turnaround and this rebuild. And last year they won 9 games and won a bowl game. So it's obviously going very well. So, yeah, it doesn't end there, but it certainly starts there. You're right about that.
We see lots of college quarterbacks that are really great for the program. They're really great for the community. He's obviously all of those things. How do you think he translates to the next level? Is he a top-round draft pick? Is he a guy that will be a journeyman in the NFL? Is he an NFL guy to you?
Yeah, he is. If not for the injuries, I think it'd be automatic. He was really trending that way. But ending your season because of injuries in back-to-back years and with different injuries, that worries me for his future a little bit, because obviously those guys – at the NFL level, they're not looking to take guys that are injury risks, right? And so if he plays a full 12, 13 game season this year and it looks as good as he did a couple years ago when he was truly in the Heisman race about midway through the season, if he's able to do that this season, then I think he puts himself back in contention for certainly a second round type of guy, maybe a first round guy. I'm not 100% sure on exactly where he would land. But I do know that, with the injury history, if he's not just amazing this year, or if he doesn't play a full year even, then, that has to bring into question his NFL future to begin with, because again, they're just, the draft and the NFL and college football are full of guys with a ton of talent that just couldn't stay healthy, that either never got their shot or just never panned out once they left the college ranks. So that's so huge for him. And what's crazy about it is they spent all last offseason leading into the 2023 season really trying to build up his body, and they even talked about making him bulletproof. That was the buzzword that they used in the off season, and they did. They made him stronger. They built up certain areas of his game and of his body and even of his mind that were in a lot of ways designed to keep him healthy. And then things happen. Last year was a back injury. The year before that it was a shoulder injury on a fluke tackle where a guy landed on him in a crazy high-profile game against TCU. So, those aren't like, well, the guy steps off the curb and he hurts himself or gets out of bed and he hurts himself. They're injuries that are significant and they do happen. But, yeah, he has to for my money, he has to show NFL scouts that he can play a full season. And I think if he does that, the numbers will be there. He's too talented to not put up numbers, especially in an offense like this. And then if he does that, he's back certainly in the mix for an NFL future. That's been his goal all along. He's tough. He's competitive. He's got a great arm, and he does move around. So, he came out of L.A., and it's really interesting because you look at some of those guys that came from his area that are around his same age, and he was totally overlooked out there, and then he comes to Kansas really as one of the only places that was willing to give him a shot, and he's every bit as good as those guys in a sense. There's obviously some Bryce Young and some guys that were high first round draft picks that were in that LA class around the same time he was too. So, I don't know that he's necessarily on that level yet, but he's darn close, and he's a lot closer than anybody back then thought he was going to be. That's for sure.
Matt Tate covers Kansas Jayhawks for the Perpetual Sports Network, joining us here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Assuming for a second that he is healthy, you look at the weapons that Kansas has on offense, it's pretty good. I can argue that they are, assuming Daniel's healthy, that the offense that they have, the skill players, are as good a collection as anybody in the conference. And, of course, in addition to Daniels, you have to look right at the running back and Devin Neal. He ran for 1,280 yards last season. The kid from Oklahoma State, Gordon, seems to get most of the publicity, but Neal is right there with him. And you combine those two if the quarterback should be healthy, and they have a dynamic, I believe, explosive offense with three receivers who are seniors. Speak to the overall talent with the quarterback there as far as the offensive collection of skill players, because, as I say, I think it can be really good.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it's wild for those of us like myself who have covered Kansas for 20 years. It used to be a reach to even find one guy that you could even half-heartedly say was among the best in the conference, and, especially on offense. They weren't there, but they are now. You mentioned it, those three receivers, Luke Grimm, Quentin Skinner, and Lawrence Arnold, are super experienced, super talented, super selfless guys. They don't care who catches the ball. They just want it to get down the field and somebody put it in the end zone. So, you don't have that diva situation at wide receiver like you find with a lot of guys at that position, not maybe in the college ranks, but it probably starts there for a lot of them, the TOs of the world, So those guys are great, and then they do have some depth behind those guys too. There's a couple of guys that, should injuries pop up or if they need a fourth option at wideout, there are bodies there. There's no question about it. Keaton Kubek is a redshirt freshman who has a huge, huge future ahead of him, just looking to find a way to get in and get some snaps. But he's talented, and he's got a chance to be really good. Doug Emelian is a guy who transferred here from Minnesota, and he's a veteran. He likes to call himself grimy because he'll do whatever. He'll get his hands on the ball and turn it upfield. He'll block downfield, whatever he needs to do. But same thing, it's been hard to get some reps and snaps. So I think that, the receiver position is really, really good. And you mentioned Devin Neal. It's not just Devin in the backfield either, though. Daniel Highshaw is another veteran. He's been here 4 years. He's battled some injuries himself, but he is such a physical runner. And whether Devin's in the game or out of the game, they don't miss a beat when they trade off spots in the backfield there. I mean, Devin's big time. Devin's got an NFL future. He's a Kansas legend, but Daniel Highshaw has been right there with him every step of the way. And so they have an awesome 1-2 punch there. They have another running back, young kid, freshman, Harry Stewart, maybe the third. I think he's either a junior or the third, but he's a freshman. And, as a freshman, I mean, Highshaw's the power guy. Highshaw's physical. If you look at Highshaw and you watch him run, he runs over people and he seeks out contact. He's been doing it his whole career, but Harry Stewart as a freshman coming in is every bit as physical as Daniel Highshaw already. And you don't see that every day with a true freshman, looking like that, physical. His legs look, tree trunks, and he moves well and he runs fast and all of that. So their backfield stacked. They lost Mason Fairchild, who was their top receiving target at the tight end position. But they have a kid named Trevor Cardell, another veteran guy who's every bit a big part of that sort of leadership and the culture of turning this thing around. And then Jared Casey's another tight end they have. He's more of an H-back. He's not a true tight end size, but he's a jackknife kind of guy. I mean, he can line up in the backfield. They'll run some weird option looks with him. They'll pitch it to him. They'll throw it to him. He's certainly become a cult hero at Kansas because he was the one that caught the 2-point conversion when they won at Texas a few years ago now, which was, right before it turned. It was they didn't make a bowl that season, but that was sort of the minute where everybody said, okay, we can do this. And it was a 57-56 victory. But, when you're Kansas and you haven't won at Texas in 30 years and you beat Texas, even if they're a little bit down, it doesn't matter. It's a huge, huge win, and it really propelled things for them. So Jared Casey after that became a cult hero. He got Applebee's commercials and was on the NIL train pretty early because of that. And, he's a Kansas kid. He's from Plainville, I think it is, and that's maybe the hometown of Superman in the in the movies. So there's all kinds of things that play into him sort of being a cult hero. But he's a tough dude, and he's a Kansas Jayhawk, and he's a big part of this team too. So even though they lost Mason at the tight end position, they still have options there that can pick up the slack. So really, I'm rambling now, but really the offense is loaded. You're right about that. I think the biggest question will be just the O-line. They lost Mike Nowitzki at center, who was one of the prototypical college centers. I mean, just as good as it gets at that position. He's probably not going to translate to the NFL, just not quite big enough, strong enough. But for college, he was an A-plus center, and he had been with Leipold and this staff for years because he was at Buffalo when they were there. So huge anchor on the line that they have to replace. And then they lost Dominic Pooney, who was an NFL draft pick. He was their left tackle. So you lose those two guys, that's two pretty big spots you have to fill. But they have 6, 7, 8 guys that are sort of competing to play up there. And they have a couple of veterans too. Their right tackle's back, their right guard's back. Right now, they're just kind of shifting it around. Right guard, Michael Ford, another guy who was at Buffalo, another guy who played with Nowitzki for a long, long time and has been with this staff. So they're looking at moving him over to center perhaps, and they have a couple other options at center as well. So I don't think there's real concern about will the offensive line be good enough. Right now, I think it will. I think the bodies are there. I think the pieces are there. I think right now it's still just a question mark because you're replacing those talented dudes, and you're also just still trying to piece it together and who plays where, what's the best fit, how do these guys look, and what's the 5 that's going to go out there and be the group that you can plug in every week, of course, barring injury. So if they can solve that O-line question and they find something that they like there, then the rest takes care of itself, because you're right. The skill positions, the weapons they have, they're loaded, and that makes life really easy for Jalen Daniels. He gets to have a lot of fun back there when that's the case. So as good a collection of talent as there is in the conference, and certainly one of the best offenses in the country, perhaps.
Who's for the Utah fan and the BYU fan that are watching Kansas for the first time, who's the one defensive player that stands out or that they need to be aware of?
Black Mamba.
Yeah, there you go. Right. They call him, he's been called a couple of things. The Blue Mamba because it's Kansas, and also the Hawk Mamba is one they try to force. But his name's Kobe Bryant, and, he spells it a little different than the Kobe everyone else knows. But, man, he's good. And he's a true lockdown corner. He has confidence like you wouldn't believe, but he's also a team player. He's not the biggest dude, but he'll mix it up. He'll stick his nose in there, and it's just coverage skills with him, man. He's just really, really good on the outside. And then, because of that, last year everybody stopped testing him. It got a little boring for him. You know how that goes with a good corner. People throw to the other side of the field, and that really allowed Mello Dotson on the other side to emerge and show his ability. And he's another all Big 12 type of cornerback, man. He really showed when people were testing him instead of testing Kobe. He really showed that hey, this is something I can do too. I mean, I think he had back-to-back pick sixes in back-to-back games last year. I mean, some of that's opportunistic. Some of that, one of them was at Iowa State, and he just turned around and the ball was there, and then there was nothing in front of him, and so he ran, and that was it. But that's part of it, right? That's positioning, that's scouting, that's knowing how to play the position. So those two guys are really good, man. I mean, they give KU obvious and automatic 1-2 punches at the cornerback position, and they can line up and cover anybody. At least they believe that, and they've shown that too. So. It starts with those guys. The rest of the secondary's got some, sort of journeyman pieces and some young guys that they're trying to figure out who plays where, sort of like the O-line. They lost Kenny Logan, who was a tackle machine at the safety position and had been a Jayhawk for a long, long time. So, they're looking to fill the spot at safety there, not only from a production standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint in some ways. Kenny wasn't like the All-American captain, Mr. Leader, but he led with his play for sure. And then, they've got some new bodies up front. Their D-line is sort of a question mark every year, and all they've done is answer it. 2 years ago, they had a guy named Lonnie Phelps who was among the Big 12 leaders in sacks and ended up having a monster year as a transfer from, I think it was Miami, Ohio. But he was as good as it got. I mean, he was a real problem for people. And so you lose Lonnie Phelps, and then the question going into last season was, how do you replace Lonnie Phelps? How do you replace Lonnie Phelps? They had another transfer, Austin Booker, who was probably better than Phelps, and same thing, ended up being among the conference leaders in sacks, and he ended up getting himself drafted by the Chicago Bears. He's going to be a stud. He's going to be a really good NFL player. He's so raw. He's still so young, and I would have loved for him to stay another year just selfishly because I loved watching him and covering him. He was a great dude, and he absolutely wrecked plays. He was so good off the edge. So the question there becomes now not just how do you replace Lonnie, how do you replace Austin Booker? And, the fact that they've done it 2 years in a row, though, there's some confidence on that coaching staff that they believe they can do it. And it's just a matter of who it is, who steps up, who's the guy. And so, you can't ever take that for granted. You can't ever bank on that happening. But at the same time, they do have a little bit of a system that seems to work and seems to churn guys out who can put up numbers. So if they put the work in and they identify one or two guys that can do that'll help up front. And then their linebackers are, excuse me, the linebackers are pretty good. I wouldn't say a super, super strength, but they got a veteran named Tywan Berryhill who's been, played a lot of football at Kansas. He's physical, smart, faster, but not speed demon kind of guy. They got a guy named J.B. Brown who's really, really fast and physical. He was a transfer last year and played very well, but it was his first year at the Big 12 level, and so his head was spinning still at times. I think he'll take another step in a big way this year. And then Cornell Wheeler is the guy we've heard about all spring. He was a transfer from Michigan. He had a role last year. He played some big snaps and a lot of special teams. But it sounds like he's really emerged as the leader of the defense. And again, man, he was at Michigan. He started his career at Michigan. He has talent. They keep saying the last couple of years that he's just a guy that, he's slowly getting there. He's just got to get it. He's got to put it all together. And he's done that a little by a little each of the last 2 years. And so he could be on the brink of a really big season, especially because we've already heard so much about him and his ownership and leadership of that defense. So if you're looking for one in the middle, a guy that might jump out as a guy you didn't hear a lot about last year, but you probably will this year, I would say that Cornell Wheeler's probably the name. But, yeah, the defense starts and ends with those two corners and their ability to just not only make things hard for quarterbacks and receivers, but make things easy for the rest of their defense.
Matt, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, guys. We'll hopefully talk again down the road when football season rolls a little bit closer. But enjoy the off season, and thanks for having me.
All right, that's Matt Tate. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for the Perpetual Sports Network. They do not play the Utes, but they come to Provo. Like November 16th, I think it is. I looked that up here. Yes, November 16th. They're in Provo. Guess, Riley Jensen, how many home games Kansas has this year?
8.
0. They're redoing their stadium. They're going to have 2 in the soccer stadium where Sporting Kansas City or KC plays, and then the other 4 at Arrowhead where the Kansas City Chiefs play.
Wow.
And that's about roughly Salt Lake, U of U to Provo in terms of the drive.
About an hour, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a hike, but that's what they're going to do. All right, coming up next, man, Riley Jensen sitting in for DJ. He's on top of the world, and he can't get any higher. We'll tell you why. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Now let's get this party started. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
There are a couple of reasons that I didn't become a doctor.
Same reasons you didn't become a paleontologist?
Why do you crack a smile and then make a joke?
I'm just saying, there's a couple reasons I wasn't a lawyer. Number 1, LSAT scared me. Number 2, I thought I'd fail miserably. And number 3, I didn't think I was smart enough. So, yeah, there are just a couple reasons why I didn't become a lawyer.
Can I make a point without you attacking me?
I'm not attacking you. You've never talked about wanting to be a doctor before. To me, this seems like you were just right on the cusp of going to medical school, and then just these 1 or 2 little things came up and made you think, no, I'm not going to do that.
Doctor.
Can you not attack me? It bugs me when you do that.
Doctor.
Stop playing that.
And doctor. Well, we miss anyone?
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Band of the day is Neon Trees, and it's brought to you by Live Nation for all the live concerts and events in 2024. Check out livenation.com. I think Neon Trees is going to be at the State Fair.
I believe you are correct.
Riley Jensen sitting in for DJ. He'll be back tomorrow. Are you happier, Riley, for Conley and Gobert advancing? Or are you happier for yourself that all things hated of Colorado, the Nuggets lost?
Ooh. It really was a good night last night, wasn't it? I am on top of the world.
And you can't get any higher.
Not really.
You root for ex-Jazz guys? You're a Utah guy.
I certainly find myself rooting for Conley and for Gobert.
But not Hayward and Mitchell.
Why are we bringing them up right now?
Well, because you singled those two guys out. Understood.
Because they won.
But there's opposites in all things.
I still like watching Mitchell. I still think he's an incredible talent.
He is an incredible talent.
I think I was a little bit more
pleasure that he lost.
I think that Elder Hayward bugged me a little bit more after he left.
Oh, he got under my skin so bad. I was irate.
No, you didn't. You didn't even care. You didn't even care.
I mean, I cared for what he did.
It was fun. I don't know why I'm finding myself rooting for Minnesota. I think Anthony Edwards is fun to watch. Obviously, I have respect for Gobert and for Conley, and then, of course, I hate Denver. I hate Colorado.
Me too.
It's annoying.
I think they should be kicked out of the union. I've been saying that for months and years.
It would not hurt my feelings whatsoever if they were gone.
Ever since that Hart guy ran for something, and then he was
Gary Hart? Did you just pull out Gary Hart?
Who was he philandering?
And then he had that scandal.
Donna Rice?
Oh yeah, it was good. I see. You start thinking Scandals, you just hear names in your head. Donna Rice, Jessica Flowers. For some reason, that came to my head.
Oh, bring me my flowers. I don't even know who that is.
I don't either. I'll have to look it up. I just know. I really don't know. I really don't know. I'll have to look it up.
I don't even know what party they were involved in, who they were philandering with, or anything.
It was fun. Listen, Anthony Edwards didn't even play very well.
He did not. I think there's people in our community who take somewhat of a first pleasure that Mitchell's out and Gobert is still playing. Yeah. But while we got Riley in here today and then DJ's back, we're going to give his expertise on quarterbacking because we got some interesting quarterbacking things going on in the state with college football. We'll get to that next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hot Take to Toast, and it's brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen. Yeah, you know Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Riley Jensen sitting in for DJ today. So we got interesting quarterback situations in our state here with Utah State. A couple of guys got a lot of experience. And then BYU, I was thinking about this. They've got 4 guys who have college playing experience, right? You've got Hillstead and Finnegan, who Finnegan up at Boise State. We know Hillstead there at Utah State. And then you got Retzlaff had 4 games last year, and Bohannon, obviously, had a lot of experience at Baylor. But then you got Utah, and they got Cam Rising, and then they, behind him, had nothing with Rose and the younger Wilson, neither of whom had played in a game. So they go out and get Sam Heward, who played, was a local kid from Seattle. Father Damon played at Washington. Uncle Brock's broadcasts nationally. I think Damon does Washington games. So he's got good stock there, and they bring him in. Now, from your experience, how difficult is it to be a quarterback? Now, Rising is the guy, and we hope that he stays healthy. But if something should happen, didn't they have to bring in a Heward, not have a ton of experience, but the other guys have 0. So how difficult is it to go in a game, in a college game, for the very first time, major college football, for the very first time, you have 0 experience?
Oh, I think there's a little bit of pressure there. I think it's definitely a different feel. For the guys that are great competitors, they've already been putting a lot of pressure on themselves to be top level. But I think, golly, even you know, that's a really good question because even for me, being a junior college guy, I felt like I had college experience, even though it wasn't Division I. Right?
Played at Snow.
But these guys haven't played. They haven't played a game since high school. Right? And it's just a different set of skills. It's a difference. Now, I will say this. It doesn't matter whether you're playing in front of 80,000 fans or whether you're playing in front of 400 in a high school game. Like, once the game starts, a lot of the pressure goes away. You're just in the middle of it. You're in it. But what you like about bringing in somebody with experience is they know what they need to do in the offseason to be prepared for that moment. Right? So a guy who has game experience knows what it takes to play at a high level in front of fans, in front of pressure, in front of media, in front of social media. They know what it's like to be attacked a little bit in their personal lives, all that kind of stuff. And their care meter is a little bit less high for all that kind of stuff. Now, it's exciting. You get your first win. You get your first opportunity to get your name in the paper and be highlighted a little bit. That's exciting. Right? But I think it's harder to deal with the criticism and to deal with the constant scrutiny that some of these quarterbacks have to go through. And I think that's where a guy with experience is kind of nice, right?
What do you think about this Heward coming in? He's going to be eligible immediately, and he missed spring ball, obviously, but they've got off-season workouts begin here another week or so, and then training camp will start in August, obviously. Do you look for him to make a serious push to be the backup to our guy, Cam Rising?
I think it is extremely difficult. I don't know if you've seen some of these things from like Orlovsky online or Jake, maybe you can help me with this name. The old Missouri quarterback that was a backup for the Saints and the Chase
Daniel.
Chase Daniel.
Yep.
These guys have been putting out some like really, really cool pieces as far as quarterbacks go about how much you have to learn, like in OTAs for the NFL, let alone for like a college playbook. I mean, these playbooks are like hundreds of pages long. Now, it's a little bit deceiving in the sense that like you can run one play out of 10 different formations and it's still the same play to you as a quarterback, just as long as you understand the concept. However, there's a lot that goes into it. So I don't see Heward personally as a guy that comes in and is immediately a backup, unless he's just one of those like savant type of guys on the offense, because it's extremely hard to learn the vocabulary. It's hard to learn, like, there can be some plays, you know, there's a typical play in football where your tight end or your inside slot runs a drag route, the next guy runs a square in, and then your back runs what we call a little delay route. And the way that you read it is drag, square in, delay, right? That happens in a million different offenses, but it's all different language. It's all different in the way that the offensive coordinator likes to read it. Like some coordinators like to try and like get it to the dig. Some people are like, take the drag every time you get it. And then the next coordinator will be like, well, I want you to read it, and then if you don't like it, then you dump it down. And so you also have to learn kind of the language and the translation of that offense for your offensive coordinator. So I'm not saying that it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but I think it would be a little bit difficult for a guy coming in at this point to learn the offense fast enough and be a legitimate contender for backup.
So he played a little bit at Washington, and then he went to Cal Poly. Now, people will say, well, Cal Poly, you know, and he played 9 games there, 2,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, and obviously it's at the highest level. Why did he go there? Well, he went there, I would assume, largely because he played at Kennedy Catholic up there in Seattle, and the coach was Cal Poly's OC. I think that's why he went there, right?
Yeah.
And so he got a little bit of experience. He'll be 22 years old in June 17th. So he's been around a little bit. So couldn't I argue that his Washington and Cal Poly experience are akin to your junior college experience?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the timing of coming in right now and trying to learn that playbook. But no question, he has play experience.
But wouldn't you rather have that than none?
Yes, absolutely.
So if Rising goes down, they turn to guys who have not been in the game. Now, Rose has been in the system for 3 years. But after the bowl game last year when they played a walk-on, Kyle said that the kid wasn't ready. He'd been there for 2 years. And Rose's father, if you go back and look at social media, was not happy about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's still there.
Yeah, he stayed. Yeah, everybody else left, but he stayed. Got to give him credit for that. Kid's got to be ready at some point.
Right.
So even though he doesn't have experience, how much can being around all this time make up for not actually having been in the game if something should happen to Rising?
Well, I will say this. The fact that they went out and got a guy this late is an indicator of how they feel about Rose. They don't feel great about it. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't go with it if he was the backup and that's all they had and he was the best they had. I mean, obviously they're going to go with that.
Uh-huh.
But to me, it's an indicator that they're not super happy. Just like it's an indicator to me that at BYU, they're not super happy with what they have.
Good point. Same situation.
You know, I don't know that any of those, I mean, with the exception of Cam Rising, I don't know that any position in the state of Utah at quarterback, any school in the state of Utah at the position of quarterback is completely sealed up and wrapped up, and
I would say exactly Utah
what's going to look like. What's that?
The Utah State kid, the Iowa transfer?
Well, I think the Iowa transfer is by far the leader, but I don't think that everyone feels like it's just like a done deal. I mean, from the people that have watched it and the people that I've talked to, they feel like that's the guy.
Yeah.
Right? But like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you got a University of Utah transfer who has Rose Bowl experience.
He does.
You know, like
his very first throw in the Rose Bowl was a touchdown.
I mean, it's not like
he wrestles pigs. I mean, come on.
I mean, I know the whole pig farmer, and you know, I'm sure people are singing "We Are Farmers." You know.
Okay, I got it.
You know, but he's a good player. He's a good player, and so's the quarterback from Iowa. So. Look, all of this stuff is really interesting to me. The thing that is a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around now is coaches always acted kind of like guys that transferred were damaged goods before.
Uh-huh.
And now that's all they go out and get. Like,
yeah, true.
It used to be that like, oh, okay, what's the problem? The guy transferred. Something's wrong with him. Why would he leave that school to come to this school? Well, because he wants to play.
Uh-huh. Yeah, understood.
He doesn't want to be a backup. Well, he must not be good. But now it's like, hey, forget all these high school quarterbacks when we can get a guy that has, like, college experience somewhere.
Yeah.
We're going to bring him in.
Well, that's what BYU did.
I know, but it's really interesting to feel an about face of coaches' like strategies and thought processes on transfer quarterbacks. It's like, oh, I got to go get it. We got to go to the portal. It's not bring in a really, really good high school quarterback. It's not. We've got two in the wings that are waiting that we've really developed really, really well.
Yeah, but those guys take off.
Right? No. I mean, I get it.
I can tell you that Utah's frustrated that Nate Johnson left.
Right.
That's a fact.
Although I did not think he was a great passer.
Yeah, but it's a fact that they're frustrated that he left.
I can
tell you that without a doubt.
I did not love his passing ability. There was too many like worm burners that he threw.
Understood. And we'll see what happens down the line. I mean, it's a rotating carousel of quarterbacking all over the place.
Well, I mean, what was the guy that transferred to Indiana that they took over Jackson Dart? Jack Tuttle. Mm-hmm. I mean, that guy was angry from like the third week at being at the University of Utah.
They took him over Zach Wilson.
Over Zach Wilson. There was another guy that they took.
Peter Castelli.
Yeah, Castelli that they were pretty happy about.
Now at Northern Colorado.
Who they took over Jackson Dart.
They thought he was better than Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Right.
Would Jackson Dart have gone to Utah if they offered?
Well, I think undercover Utah offered, but they offered way late, and so it didn't have all the feels.
So there wasn't enough love? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're talking about his dad played at the University of Utah.
He did.
Played for Witt.
He did.
I don't know that, I don't know that there was a lot of love, like a ton of love for Jackson Dart. There was love. Don't get me wrong. There was love, but by then he'd already been feeling the love from BYU, USC, a lot of other places, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they got in the game, I don't know. Maybe it was a little late. I don't know. I don't know the exact, scenarios there. But my point was with Jack Tuttle. I mean, that guy was unhappy from like the third week that he wasn't playing. His dad was on the phone after games, like talking to schools. You know what's funny about this is, and this is true across the board in all sports, is like these parents think they're being real sneaky by like talking to another school or like reaching. All these coaches talk.
Uh-huh.
Hey, just so you know, such and such parents are reaching out to me because they don't want to be accused of tampering. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Not that it matters.
But like, and if it's good friends, like between, hey, just so you know, such and such reached out to me. I can read you the exact text if you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all these parents think they're being like super like, behind the scenes, like working a deal like Jack Tuttle's dad. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew he was working a deal.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're trying to do what they think is right, and there's no book on parenting. Parenting is about hopefully for you make fewer mistakes than good decisions. But
trust me, I'm not actually being critical of like parents trying to do what's best for their kid or like trying to do the right thing. But when you think you're doing that and like nobody's talking to each other, it's just simply like not.
So Utah went 0 for 2 on Corner Canyon quarterbacks. Then are they going to go 1 for 3?
Oh, I mean, obviously they gave Isaac Wilson plenty of love.
Right.
And he's there and he's happy.
But is he going to be good?
Oh, I think he's going to be really good.
Really good? You think he will start at the University of Utah?
I do. He will start at the University of Utah.
Not this year, obviously, but next year?
I don't know what year it'll be, but he'll start at the University of Utah.
Well, because the competition will be open next year. Position will be open.
That will be the time to make a good run.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're not willing to say that in 2025 he will be the starting quarterback.
And listen,
which is fine.
I hate being critical of young quarterbacks because this isn't a criticism at all. But if you're comparing him to if you're comparing him to his older brother, right? Isaac Wilson, and he ran a ton better his senior year than he did in the years before that. I don't think he's quite as athletic as Zach.
Right.
I think he might be and that's a big statement, but he might be a little bit more accurate at this point.
Well, he doesn't have to be better than Zach. He has to be better than the competition.
Right. Well, and so to me, that's why, I mean, for sure he's a starter at the University of Utah, but if you're...
For sure he's going to start?
He will start at the University of Utah.
Not a game or two. Not a game.
No. He'll be the starter.
You know what?
He'll be a starter.
All right. There it is, man. That's good to hear. You know more about it than I do.
Well, it's a super competitive family. This is a family that's way invested in football.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, his dad has coached him very, very well. Both brothers very, very well.
Uh-huh.
I think his dad's very realistic about that position. His dad's as critical of him as anybody is, right? And then he's also had 2 other brothers that have played linebacker because dad was like, look, you guys aren't quarterbacks. I think his dad's very realistic.
Understood.
So and then he's been under the tutelage of Care, who obviously knows how to throw the football around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't see why he wouldn't be the starter there.
Okay, there it is, man. Well, we'll see what happens in the coming years. We'll all be around. You'll be around, Yak?
I'll be here.
Riley Jensen will be here. I'll be here.
You're acting like this is a big stretch. Like I've just called the shot.
I knew you'd get nervous. I knew you'd get nervous.
I don't even feel. No, I'm not nervous.
In the right field stands. I'm planted in those seats over there.
I don't feel like this is a big stretch for me to say that Isaac Wilson will be the starter. You're making like this is like some sort of like I'm calling a shot. Breaking news!
Don't be all defensive, man. You made a statement, and you're going to stand by it.
I am.
He's filling DJ's role perfectly right now.
I don't know why this is so shocking. I can't believe I'm defending the fact that he'll be the starter.
Why? I didn't say anything to put you on the defensive. Jeez.
Yeah, you did. You kind of made it sound like I was Babe Ruth, like pointing out over the left field fence.
So you said he'll be the best quarterback in Utah history. We got to go to break. We'll get to it next right here, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
If I were the NBA, I want coaches back in suits. I don't really like the sweatsuit thing, but I would get why a coach would never want to do that ever.
How dare you expect somebody to dress professionally in a situation that calls for it? Put them in uniform like the baseball. Some baggy shorts and a tank top.
Tibbs out there in a Knicks uniform?
He'd look great.
Look awesome. It would change who you hire as head coaches. You would almost exclusively get former players.
That look good in the uniform?
Stan Van Gundy's never getting another job. Will Hardy would look good. Fine.
What you're saying is like you're going to skew young.
Absolutely.
Not old, because even athletes get older, and when athletes get older, things get droopy.
Yeah, Doc Rivers is out.
Quinn Snyder would look so spindly.
Be a short shorts guy or a long shorts guy? Trying to look good for the job.
Trying to sweat something
Trying to
out.
look the part.
What's going on? Like OC when he's trying to trim weight for a fight.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK proudly presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 18 years in a row. And speaking of in a row, Riley Jensen sitting in for DJ. He said the younger Wilson kid will start at Utah
news
for 4 years in a row.
Breaking news, ham and cheese sandwiches are good.
Are they hot or cold?
Toasted ham and cheese sandwiches are good.
So my wife loves hot ham and cheese.
I don't want to get into your personal life.
And let me tell you about
I don't want
this.
to get into your
No,
personal life.
I promise you'll laugh.
I'm already laughing.
You'll laugh even. This is a true story. You are dirty, so I can't help you.
You're hurting my feelings now. Hey, by the way, I also predicted that Isaac Wilson will be a starter at the University of Utah. Breaking news!
Well, some people don't think so. You do. You know more about it than I do, so you put it out on the line.
Wow.
And then you got all defensive about it.
I didn't get defensive.
You're backpedaling
You're making it
better
sound like
than the Blue Mamba, Kobe Bryant, the
go put it on
cornerback.
DraftKings now. Book it.
You're backpedaling better than the Big 12 cornerback Kobe Bryant at Kansas, which is Cobee, by the way. It's not
Cobee.
That's how he spelled it. Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't he had a fumble return or a pick six against
his mom from
Cougs.
Utah?
Essentially ended Parker Kingston's night. With
he
one
lit him
hit.
up.
Yeah.
That was one.
Fumbled it,
right
picked
in
it
the
up,
beginning
and
of the game.
rumbled into the end zone right at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Set the tone right away.
BYU gifted Kansas.
Is Kobe
14 points.
Bryant's mom from Utah with the special spelling?
I don't think so.
Cobee. That's how they spell it?
Mm-hmm. That's how you spell it.
It's like spelling Riley, Ryleigh here in Utah.
You lost me.
Riley.
We're going to St. George to golf. This was several years back, right? And we're going to Bloomington. I got somebody get us on. It's a country club at Bloomington. And we get there around 2 o'clock. And we're going to play 18, and then we're going to have a nice dinner. But we're really hungry right now, right? So they got this little snack shack. Bloomington is a country club. It's private. You go there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's packed. A lot of older people play. But you go at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's vacant. It's empty. It's deserted. They already played. They went home, take their nap, come back, play Parcheesi later, and hang out at the country club. So when we get there, what are you smiling for?
I don't know where this is going, so I'm excited.
So
I'm excited.
This little snack shack, right? And she goes up there and says, we'll split a hot ham and cheese. So we'll still have our appetite after we play 18. And we'll go have a nice dinner afterward, right? All right, sounds good. So she goes over there. There's nobody there. There's one gal in the little snack shack. It's like, she says, can I have an order of hot ham and cheese? Yeah, sure. Gal's cooking it. And she says to the gal, can you cut it in half, right? The gal says, oh, are you Sharon? She says, no, I'm Jackie.
Surely you jest. No, I don't. And stop calling me Shirley.
And there's nobody else around. And she thought the cooker was asking her, is your name Sharon?
No, I get it.
Some people don't. Some Ute fans out there. So that's become a running gag. And we told that
That's
to
like Airplane.
Our friends' parents. And my friend has told me his father has repeated that scenario because that was so funny no less than 50 times to everybody he meets. So you do not think starting next year that Isaac Wilson will be sharing the quarterback position with anybody at the University of Utah?
Surely you jest.
Why are you so high on him?
I think he's a competitor. I think he's a player who wants to play well. I think he's a player that will grow under Andy Ludwig. I think he's going to see a whole bunch of chutzpah, and he's going to see a whole bunch of like moxie for a year under Cam Rising, and I think it's a perfect scenario for a really, really celebrated high school quarterback to come into that sort of a situation. And
well, then wouldn't he win the backup job this year? Wouldn't that be far more ideal? Because whoever wins the backup job this year has got to have a leg starting in 25 to be the starter. No?
Not necessarily.
No. Why not? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Because they're going to redshirt him. They'll just say, well, we'll redshirt him.
Yeah, but you could still play in 4 games.
Right.
And Utah, man, if you listen to Joel Klatt, it's Ohio State and then Utah. I mean,
Joel
he's just...
Klatt is kind of like, he's a big Utah fan.
Huge. So they're going to be blowing out people left and right. Clearly,
I don't give him a
does
lot of credit.
anybody
He's
doubt
from
that they're going
Colorado.
to blow out BYU on November 9th? Because I don't.
You think Utah's not going to blow out?
I think they are. So there's going to be opportunities for the youngster to play in 4 games and still maintain his red shirt. And my gosh, if he were to play in 10 games and appeal to the NCAA the way the NCAA is going, sure, you can have the year back. I mean, they're just granting waivers left and right. It's like there's no rules anymore.
I don't
Everything's
know
gone out.
I just don't know that, like,
4 games.
It really matters who the backup is this year because you got to go win it next year. You got to be the guy.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have a leg up? Or no?
I mean, that depends on what position you're in. You would think that if you're Rose, you'd think, oh, I have a leg up because I'm the backup. But there's a whole year for Isaac Wilson to grow both physically, mentally,
spiritually,
leadership-wise, spiritually, whatever.
In a football sense.
No, I'm talking about just in general. Like, there's a lot of growth that takes place in 1 year.
Understood, especially for a freshman.
So I don't think it's the end-all, be-all for Isaac if he's not the backup. I think it would be a big indicator. No. I think it would be a big indicator to Rose if he wasn't the backup this year.
It's time to go?
Yeah.
The bloom is off the rose?
Oh, my gosh. Sharon, Shirley, Bloom. Breaking news. I got to call DJ after this. Just talk to him about how to handle this. It's been a rough morning.
Just roll with it, man. Stand on your own merit.
Stop being so defensive.
If you feel something, run with it.
I know, but when you say that stuff, it's like I wasn't defensive. Now I want to punch you.
You're violent. Well, I just wanted nothing but to exude love to you.
I don't feel the love this morning. I'm not feeling a lot of love.
I told Yak to go let you in this morning.
Well, that was nice of you.
We could have had you standing out there all day long, and it's raining.
Usually it's you. And so I didn't feel...
I don't know. Yak said he was going. I don't know why.
a lot of love.
I do what Yak tells me. When he says, go get him, I go get him. And then he said, I'll go get him today. I said, okay. So he runs the show.
Thanks, Yak. I felt the love from you this morning. Still feeling it.
I would think that if he won the backup job, even at BYU, who's the backup this year leads me to think that would be the starter the following year.
How many years does Retzlaff have?
He's got 2.
2. So if he's the starter this year, then obviously he would be viewed as the starter next year. But I'm just saying if Bohannon wins it, would be the one, because he's one and done. He's in and out this year, animal style.
Animal style?
Since I went with in and out.
Okay.
Right? He's in and out. He's your.
I just think that there's some uncertainty at BYU about who's going to be the guy and.
Well, if Hillstead or Retzlaff win it, then they play well enough to maintain it, then obviously they would be viewed as the starter going into 25. Right. I would think.
If Bohannon didn't win it, that would just be hard on you mentally. It started out with so much promise for him.
Right, but he's been dealing with all this stuff anyway. This is his third school, and right. Aranda decides to take a Big 12 quarterback. Didn't they win the Big 12 that year? And then, and then in the next offseason, who's the kid?
Blake Shapen.
Yeah, who's now? Where'd he go? He's gone.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's just the dominoes are just all over the place. So he beats out Bohannon and Aranda was thought, he announced it after spring, and it was thought, okay, well, that's very classy because then you're telling Bohannon if you want to transfer, you can, and I'm giving you enough time rather than waiting to the third week of August. And I appreciate that. But then Shapen comes in, and the program stinks. Grimes basically got fired and is now, we didn't have time when we talked to the Kansas writer or whoever he is, the one who covers Kansas because he gave long answers. But he's now the OC at Kansas. So that whole thing, I would think, I mean, I'm not close to it. That wasn't managed well. And so Bohannon has had to deal with, and then he goes to South Florida and has injury and so forth. So if he can cut it loose and the shoulder is good, then he has the opportunity. My guess is that at BYU, just totally a guess, we see at least 2 quarterbacks start, and it's not necessarily because of injury. Whereas at Utah, if we see 2 quarterbacks start, it is because of injury.
Right.
Because Rising, I mean, they'll never have a kid more experienced than Rising.
No, he's on
history
like,
of
it's like
time.
the 7-year program.
Yeah.
7-year.
When he tries
starter.
to make the NFL, he will be 26 years old. Because I think he turned, you can look it up, I think he just turned 25.
Will he make it because of that, though? Because that's always been the cut against BYU quarterbacks. They're too old. They've served a mission and
red-shirted or gray-shirted.
Right. I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about will they take a flyer on somebody like Cam Rising?
Yeah, Rising turned 25 a week ago today. He's 25 years old.
Yeah, so he'll be 26 if he makes it into the NFL.
Right, because it'll be next year. Right.
Yeah, wasn't somebody saying he was like the same recruiting class as like Justin Fields, and Justin Fields is on his second is on his second contract?
In the NFL, yes.
let's see. He was born in 99. Oh, yeah, 2018 was he committed
class
to Texas.
So he's the same as, is that Zach Wilson too?
Zach Wilson, I think it's only by months, but I think Rose is older, or Rising is older than Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Is that big of a deal?
I don't know.
Because I don't think Pam Rising is projected as a big-time quarterback.
I'm not saying that it's a big deal.
Yeah, he was in the same class.
I'm saying that they've held it against BYU quarterbacks in the past, saying, "Oh, you're too old.
They're both 25 years old.
We can't take a flyer on you."
Yeah, which is all the more reason to come back and get the NIL.
Right. Well, I thought that was one of the reasons why he came back and took the NIL last year, was that he was going to be a lower round draft pick.
Yeah, but last year he had the injury, though. He had no choice. I mean, he wouldn't have...
Sorry, the year, I'm thinking the year before. So he'd had a really good year, and...
Yeah.
And so he took the NIL because people were saying he'd be a low round draft pick.
2 years ago, he made a statement after one of the games that he thought that would be it as far as playing home games at Rice Eccles in the postgame. That's the plan, I think he said. Well, the plan changed, and it changed again, I guess. So here he is 2 years later.
I mean, there's significant money.
Yeah, and hey, he's playing by the rules. I don't blame him.
No, I know. I'm not saying he's wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you can make good money. You can make good money and set yourself up pretty good as a college quarterback now, as a great college quarterback. I mean, I think about guys like Chucky Keaton at Utah State. He could have set himself up really good, and I don't know that Chucky was ever going to be an NFL quarterback.
Understood.
And so those are the guys that I love get to take advantage of it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, crazy day and night in the NBA. We'll get to that next day with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Hey, Draymond. What game you playing right now?
Uh-oh.
Where are you at? Is your team in the playoffs still? Oh, no, you're in the studio. Taking cheap shots at somebody that you publicly have said you don't like. You have an agenda.
I thought you were going to go full on that you publicly choked out, because that also happened.
That did too. The Warriors are a dying dynasty because you suck now.
Oh.
You're washed. You're not good anymore. Now the Warriors aren't good either. At least Rudy's in the playoffs.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
Timberwolves have possession. There's only 5 to shoot. They get it into Rudy along the baseline. He's got a tough fall away. It's up. Oh, it drops in. It could be your night. Rudy Gobert beats the shot clock buzzer with a heave and a prayer over Jokic from 18 feet out.
That's your Chevy strong play of the game. And what do they do, Yak? They call in to JJ and Alex this afternoon?
Yeah, they'll call for, if you know the winning play, you win fabulous prizes.
All right. Fabulous prizes. That's a DJ expression. And we might as well keep it going. And he will, well, we'll be off next Monday. So it'll be 2 Mondays from now. Because next Monday is already Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend is upon us at the end of the week. How about that, man? And the NBA continues to roll on. Denver loses to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota, what a series this was. I can't recall a series, and that's where DJ can come in because he can simply recall this stuff better than I can. But a crazy series where the home team loses the first 2, then comes back and wins the next 3, got game 7 at home, and they lose after being up 15, the largest margin ever to lose at halftime. I think it was 58-38 at one point. It's 20, and they still find a way to lose the ball game. Oh, my goodness gracious. Denver goes 1-3 at home. And Minnesota, psychologically, Riley Jensen joining us. He is a mental health performance coach. So game 6, Minnesota wins by 45 points, right? They're down 3-2 in the series. They win by 45 points. That's for the team that won the title last year. To go to Minnesota and lose is not that big a deal, but to lose by 45 points is incredible. Psychologically, maybe I didn't appreciate that as much as I should have, because I'm wondering how much confidence then did that give these guys from Minnesota, because they seem to play with a whole lot of confidence.
Well, I think one thing that's interesting, so and maybe you've heard of this study before or not, but they did a study from 2007 to 2011 in the NBA where they measured all of the like high fives, fist bumps, back slaps, pats on the head for every single team in the NBA for like 5 years.
So all positive stuff?
Like these what they call nonverbal gestures, right?
Okay.
So the team that had the most every single year didn't always win the regular season, but they won the championship every single year.
Really?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Now, you have to remember some of those teams are really, really good, right? So there's going to be a little bit more of that. But they arranged for this study to kind of take away that advantage, to kind of take away these things. And every single year they didn't win the regular season, but they won the championship. And then the culminating one was in 2011 where the Mavericks beat the Heat. And it was like 4-1. It was like 4-1, and then they go and they continue to like extrapolate information. And the guy during that period of time that had the most of these nonverbal gestures was Steve Nash, and he won the MVP in 2007, 2008. And so there's all this indication that like when teams have confidence and when they're giving themselves those type of things, there's an exchange of a chemical in the body called oxytocin. It's the same thing that exists when a mother is first with its baby a lot. It's this nonverbal touching that takes place, this bonding that takes place. And the indicators is that those teams win more often. And it's fairly scientific and fairly quantifiable. And when I was watching Minnesota throughout this series, it just felt like that was the team with the more nonverbal gestures that were going on the whole time. Whether they won by 45, whether they lost a difficult home game, it just felt like this was a team that played together and that played for each other. Now I can't quantify that. I'm not sure that I can go through and like break that down for you. But my overall feel was like, this is a team that likes each other. This is a team that plays for each other. And so I was a little bit surprised when I tuned in the second quarter and they're way down, because I was like, man, I did not see this loss coming for Minnesota. And then of course they came back and played phenomenal and won. But I'd like to see some of those statistics again, some of those quantifiable statistics about these nonverbal gestures that are really powerful in sport.
Good job, Riley.
Thank you.
I just gave him bones.
I feel a little more connected to you than I did before. Because the last
I haven't
two
changed.
Well, no. You've changed. You've changed a lot. The nonverbal gestures.
No.
Yeah, you're not trying to put me on the defense all of a sudden. It feels different.
You went on the defense.
No.
Right.
I wasn't even defensive. It's like when you show up to work and everybody's like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Dude, I'm fine. What the heck is going on here? Are you okay?"
I gotcha. Yeah.
That's what you do. That's what you do. That's how you do radio. That's you and sports radio in a nutshell.
A nutshell. I knew nutshell was coming. Yeah. Well, we're going to put Bob Casper on the defensive next, and we're going to talk.
Let's do it.
Based on the text I got yesterday, he's ready to fire back.
And the PGA and everything else. So stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest, and then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making the impact on the Hercules Hero of the Week, and it's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We're going to recap the PGA. What a week. It will be remembered for Scotty Scheffler, but let's not forget, it also needs to be remembered for tremendous golf. Joining us now is Bob Casper, and it should be remembered that Bob Casper wanted to cut Xander Schauffele, and then Xander Schauffele goes and wins. Bob, I know it's hard, but defend yourself.
Well, if I would have taken Scotty Scheffler instead of Xander, I would have picked Xander in the first pick. So
you're full of crap.
That's the way it is.
That, Bob, I'm choked up because that was an excellent response. I don't believe you for a lick, but I thought it was a great response.
Oh, you are a non-believer anyway.
What does PK believe in?
Nothing.
The American way, buddy boys.
Only his opinions.
The American way, and I don't apologize
Within
for it.
the last 10 minutes, he gave me bones, Bob, and I've been riding high for 8 minutes.
I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Well, but I'll tell you what, PK.
Yes.
There was some amazing golf in that final round.
No doubt.
Xander Schauffele shot the lowest score in major championship history at 21 under par. And he had guys pushing him the whole way, and he just kept his head down and kept going. And I thought it was a phenomenal Sunday afternoon in the PGA Championship.
I'd agree with that 100%. My thought for you, and Schauffele has been around the edges, right? He's a premier golfer, but he hasn't had a big breakthrough. Now that he has it, the question is, has he arrived maybe a la a Phil Mickelson when he got that Masters years ago, or is it is a simple case of a hot streak during a week? Where is it?
I think that's a great similarity that you just pulled out, PK. I think this is something that once he's broken the ceiling, I think that he's a guy that's going to contend in majors going forward for a long time. Such a phenomenal player. He's really worked hard on his game. He's gained a lot of distance, this year, and he figured out how to win a major championship, especially with all of the adversity that he had in the last round. The last two holes hit really good drives that came up in kind of precarious positions on 17 and on 18, and yet he was still able to maneuver it, get it in the right position, and then make that 6-foot putt on the last hole to win by a shot. So, yes, I think he learns a ton from this. He's learned a ton from not being able to win major championships or other events, in the past. But this is going to be one that he's going to hang his hat on and say, okay, I've done it. Now I can do it again.
I was watching some different highlights and some different things that happened during the tournament. Obviously, Scottie Scheffler was a big story, but I saw kind of an interesting story, and I wanted to ask your insight on this. DeChambeau throws, after the 10th hole, he throws a golf ball to, like, what appears to be a 10-year-old kid, and, like, a guy like my age, like, grabs the ball and takes off running. and DeChambeau kind of like chases him down and, like, makes the guy give the ball back to the kid. Did your dad ever have any experiences like that? And what were his thoughts about when he was trying to be good to a kid and something like that happened? Or have you seen it where this is going on? Because I'm so surprised at the immaturity. Well, I guess I'm not surprised because I'm pretty immature myself, but I'm just surprised at those kind of things.
It's kind of interesting. My dad, once he got on the golf course, he almost got into his own little cocoon kind of self-hypnosis state when he was playing in a round and that kind of thing. If he ever gave out a signed golf ball or anything like that, it would have been after the round. When he was signing the autographs and that kind of thing. So my dad didn't show a lot of emotion. He would focus in on what the task at hand was to be able to play his best golf. And a lot of people say he didn't have a lot of interaction with the crowd, and he didn't. He was there to do some business, to do his job, and so his interaction came more after when he was like a senior tour player, where life was a little easier than when he was trying to focus in when he was playing the regular tour.
DeChambeau now has been in the top 10, both majors, right? Tied for 6th, and then
That's
obviously
correct.
second, a shot back. I thought I read something, I saw it, that maybe he was saying that, well, with the LIV, he's got more time to practice. Do you buy any of that?
Well, that the interesting thing is they play 14 events. If he plays the majors, that's 18. That's not much more than or less than he played when he was playing on the PGA Tour. So I don't know if I buy that, but the interesting thing is that he has kind of an interesting platform, with YouTube and social media and that kind of stuff, which he did when he was on the PGA Tour as well, except he's more vocal and is pushing it more than he did on the PGA Tour because the irrelevancy of LIV golf right now, and it's really hard to find where to watch these guys, and they're kind of on the outside looking in. So I don't know. He can say what he wants to say about having more time and that kind of thing, but on the PGA Tour, you pick and choose where you want to play, and you have just as much time as well.
Right.
When you're looking at some of these golfers, when you look at Tony Finau, obviously he's a local interest. When you look at some of the guys that are playing and they're getting top 20 finishes, top 10 finishes, who's the one that sticks out to you that will maybe break through like Schauffele? That is right there, that is always consistent, that's going to break through and get some majors that maybe we're not all looking at.
Well, yes, Tony is one that I think will. in our discussions and talking with Tony in interviews and stuff, he feels he can win a major. Actually, he says he feels he can win majors, plural, that he'll get more than one. And I really feel that Tony will be a major champion. So he loves big golf courses. He loves the big stage. And he shot 10 under, 11 under par this week, tied for 18th. I think he's disappointed because he felt like that golf course really would be one that he could win on. He would have had to gone really, really low. He just had a few too many mistakes. I think another one that I really think is going to be a great player is Sahith Theegala. He was in the mix of things, final group in the third round, and then really shot a couple over par in the final round. But he got right in the mix of it. And the thing is whether it's Theegala or Tony, when you get in the mix of it and you have a chance to compete at that level, and you see that your game is as good as the rest, it promotes a lot of self-confidence in your game and what you're doing. And then if you do it enough times, you figure out how to do it so that you can win. You see the guys that are doing it, and you're playing with them, and you see what their games are like, and you see where you need to maybe tweak your game a little bit to become a major championship winner. And I think those guys are gaining more and more experience, and because of that, they'll win major championships, and probably pretty soon.
Bob Casper joining us, recapping the PGA. I heard somebody say that maybe they thought the course was a little easier than it should be. Two guys at 20 under, obviously Schauffele 21 under. But I looked, there was like 11 guys who shot 66 or lower on Sunday. Anything to it?
Part of that is the weather that transpired earlier in the week with moisture and that kind of thing. I mean, the golf course was soft because it had a lot of moisture in it. The greens were soft, and guys could hit 5 irons and have them stick pretty tight. That's what happens when you have moist greens, and you can't hide the flags on these guys. They will find them. They will hit shots right at the flag, and they will hit it close to the flag. So having said that, yeah, the golf course was a little soft. Guys were picking up, mud on their golf balls and stuff like that in the fairway. But a lot of that was because of the weather that transpired earlier in the week. They still played the golf course at almost 7,600 yards. It was a crazy long golf course. But as I said, when the moisture's in the golf course, these guys will fire it at the flags, and they will make a lot of birdies. And that's what we saw this week. I mean, for the final two guys, Bryson DeChambeau in the chaser mode shooting 64, and Xander Schauffele shooting 65. That's what happens when you have soft greens in a final round.
In pro football, obviously I'm a little bit more familiar with like some of those guys and like what they go through when they're on the fringe and how difficult it can be. We always see, we talk about Tony Finau. Tony Finau's doing great financially. Tony Finau is able to bring his family on trips and stuff like that. How hard is it on a guy that's on the fringe of the PGA Tour? Maybe he's just gotten his card, and he's on the tour, but he's not playing in all the tournaments. Like, talk a little bit about the struggle there for those guys, and how do they break through when they're kind of on that fringe?
That's a great question. The PGA Tour has done some stuff in the last couple of years to help out those kids. A lot of guys have got their PGA Tour card, and it used to be that didn't guarantee you anything or didn't help you with anything. Well, the PGA Tour has come out and said, okay, if you've got your PGA Tour card, worst case scenario, you're going to make $500,000 a year. Okay, as long as you keep your card, you're gonna make $500,000. Well, $500,000 doesn't do you a whole heck of a lot on the PGA Tour because guys that keep their card are making double that. Okay? So what they have to do is they have to play in events that are not signature events, of which there are, what are there? You've got, I think you've got 12 signature events, plus you've got the majors. 8 signature events, majors, that brings you up to 12. And then you've got the playoffs, which takes you up to about 15 or 16 events that are signature events where and the Players' Championship, which takes you up to 16, which those events are now the purses on those events are a minimum of $20 million for the week. And a lot of those events are limited field events where you don't have as many players, or a shorter field where, the cut's not as drastic. So all the other events, you're going to have to be playing every single one of those. Now, if you happen to go out and win, then that automatically gets you into the signature events for the rest of the year, which is guaranteed money, basically. If you play between signature events, they might have 3 to 5 regular events, and if you play really, really well in those and are like the top 5 X Cup point earners during those short five events in between signatures, then you automatically get to play the next signature event. So there's a lot of ways that they can kind of break through, but they have to play really, really good. Now, what this does is it promotes the young guys and the new guys. It promotes them getting better. And that's why you see guys like Scotty Scheffler 2.5 years ago, he hadn't won a golf tournament. Okay. Now he's won 10 or 11 times with 2 major championships, and he's the number 1 guy in the world, because having this way of leading into signature events, majors, the Tour Championship and the playoffs and that kind of thing. If you play well, then the world is your oyster on the PGA Tour. You can't just expect to get on and just kind of cruise along through it. Although the PGA Tour has allowed these younger guys to be able to not have to lose money playing. They can make some money playing by being guaranteed that $500,000 a year.
Gotcha.
Before we let you go, Bob, how about throwing some flowers the way of Nelly Korda? 6 wins. She's just on fire, man.
Oh, yeah. 6 out of 7 she's won. And Rose Zhang really kind of tore things up the last week. She was going for 6 in a row, and Rose Zhang just tore it up. But 6 out of 7, one of those was a major in between. And Nelly Korda is a phenomenal player. Last year she had some sickness earlier in the year. She was in the hospital for quite a while. And here she come back. She's on full tilt right now. And Nelly Korda is a phenomenal player, and she's young, and she's going to be around for a long, long time, winning on the LPGA Tour.
Yeah, 25 years of age. It's exciting to see, and great for women's golf to get a superstar in the making. And let's see what she can do continuing. All right, Bob. Well, we're 2 down, 2 more to go. So we will be talking to you in 4 weeks when we got the U.S. Where is the U.S. Open?
U.S. Open is at Pinehurst number 2. Brian Taylor and I had a chance to go to Media Day there about a little over a week ago. And we got to play the number 2 course, and it's a beast. Yeah. It'll beat you up. And I'm excited to see how the guys play it, and Brian and I will be there the full week doing reports and doing our show from North Carolina.
Great. Looking forward to it. We'll talk to you then, Bob.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. That's Bob Casper, son of Billy Casper, the Hall of Fame golfer, for sure. And we've got the U.S. Open coming up in 4 weeks. And at that point, we'll be all over that for sure. Stay with us. We'll get you caught up on what we've been talking about this morning right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Now let's get this party started.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
There are a couple of reasons that I didn't become a doctor.
Same reasons you didn't become a paleontologist?
Why do you crack a smile and then make a joke?
I'm just saying, there's a couple reasons I wasn't a lawyer. Number one, the LSAT scared me. Number two, I thought I'd fail miserably. And number three, I didn't think I was smart enough. So yeah, there are just a couple reasons why I didn't become a lawyer.
Can I make a point without you attacking me?
I'm not attacking you. Like, you've never talked about wanting to be a doctor before. To me, this seems like you were just right on the cusp of going to medical school, and then just these one or two little things came up and made you think, no, I'm not going to do that.
Doctor? Doctor?
Can you not attack me? You know, it bugs me when you do that.
Doctor?
Stop playing that.
And doctor. Well, we miss anyone?
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The 9 o'clock hour Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown in Sandy. Well, quite the sports weekend. Started off, I guess, Friday with the Scotty Scheffler bizarre news.
I mean, he went to jail.
Yeah.
Teed off and shot a -6.
Yeah.
Almost in the same time we were on air.
Yeah, exactly. It was. Yeah, it was literally during that. That was a wild story, and Scheffler kind of petered out a little bit, but I think it was more about the other guys playing great golf than him petering out. You can't win every time. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter what sport you're in, obviously. So we'll see what. And then he had just had the birth of his child and all that stuff, and so now he'll be a month removed from all this stuff, and we'll see what he does at the U.S. Open. And Schauffele took it by control and birdied 18 to win it. Very dramatic and fun and all that stuff, if you're into that. If you're not, you should be. And how about, we don't talk about this much. I would talk about it more, but, it's DJ. RSL, 5 goals. 5-3.
Haven't scored 5 since 2018, right, Yak?
That one, oh, man, you should have heard Yak on the post game, man.
Just
he
going
was all
hog
fun.
wild, baby.
The other guy with we and us and all that stuff, man, I caught that. Did you catch that?
Speno's been doing that forever, though. At this point, he does it a lot, and I've adapted to it, but every so often I'll still catch him and be like, it's not we're not out there playing. We're the broadcasters. They're on the field.
Yeah. So when DJ gets the hockey play-by-play, then I think Yak will slide into the soccer.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, Yak's he's been positioning that for years.
Oh, these guys, what they do.
Touchline, let's go, come on.
What they do here, I mean, the backdoor maneuvering that I watch these two guys, they're geniuses at it. I have no hidden agendas. I'm transparent 100%.
Right.
I just do my thing, and that's it. Expect no glory, no credit. I mean, I realize I drive the show, but it doesn't matter. We pass all the stuff, all the praise, all the honor to DJ because he's sensitive about that stuff. Whereas I just, I do my thing, and I mean, let's call it like it is.
Shucks.
I do it better than anybody in town.
Oh, shucks, PK.
And that's what it is. Well, that was a fun game. I watched it. I got the pass on Apple TV, and because I watch it largely because Pablo and I
went to high school together.
Yeah, we didn't go together. I'm a little older than him.
No, you guys are the same age.
He's got the gray. I don't have the gray though.
You got a little. You got a touch.
Just on the sides, but I do that on purpose. It's the George Clooney look.
Distinguished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. They get respect when I walk around the halls.
It's true that you and Pablo were close.
We grew up probably about a mile apart. Yeah. Because I was at 23rd and Greenway, and he was at 7th and Greenway. Yeah. And he said his parents still live there.
Yeah.
Yeah. With me being older, my parents are gone. But we still go back. And that's home.
Right.
We go. I love my sisters greatly from December to April.
The family rankings come out in December to April, and they're ranked in the top 2.
Because there's really good weather then.
Right.
And with this Allegiant, with the discount airlines, we go a fair amount. And then we have her.
Allegiant is not. It's not terrible that way.
If it's on time, it's sweet.
Right.
Yeah. We've had a few hiccups, but it's worth giving it a shot. And then her college roommate, now her kids are gone. So she's got a house that's vacant, and she's got an extra car. Yeah. So that's pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then she's got a brother that lives down there, but I don't like him, so we don't see him every time.
Just put that out on the radio if you can.
He's not going to listen. It's understood.
It's understood. He doesn't like you.
Right.
I don't like him. Okay.
Right.
You know what the best thing that I've done? I stole this from Deion Sanders. Family rankings every night have been awesome.
What is that? What's that entail?
My kids get family rankings.
Yeah, I never understood. Well, I don't have a favorite child. Why not?
Well, my parents always said, well, it depends on the day you ask me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've adopted it to is like, okay, family rankings came out. Yesterday, my 4-year-old was awesome. She brought me up some Diet Dr. Peppers from the basement.
Nice.
She put a few of them in the fridge for me. She's ranked number 1.
Yeah.
And every time the one kid is ranked number 1, then my son and my other daughter are like, well, I don't care about your stupid rankings until they're ranked number 1.
Yeah.
And then when they're ranked number 1, they're like, oh, Dad, this is the best, Dad. Like, you know.
Did you give them any NIL when they're ranked number 1?
No, they don't. No. So I'm the dad. I'm the dad that, like, there's certain things that have to happen in the family that are just part of being Team Jensen. And then there's over and beyond that gets paid in. You get NIL money for over and beyond.
Okay.
You don't get money for just being on the team. Like, you know, like they want me to pay him for cleaning the toilet. No, you don't get paid for cleaning the toilets. That's part of being on the team here. Like, we help each other out.
It's understood.
It's understood. But, you know, you come and help me turn over the flower bed. Yeah. You know, like you come
so above and beyond. I get the definition now.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's certain things like cleaning your room, making your own bed.
I like it. And Riley talking, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I do. I actually, there's two things.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
There's two things that I say a lot that I hate and they're cringe. You know what I'm saying? And then the other one that I say is, does that make sense? Does that make sense? If I say that one more time in my life,
I like it, man.
And I was going to die for it. I'd probably die before 10 o'clock this morning.
Riley, I live on the streets, Jensen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Anyway, family rankings are good. My kids are funny about it.
Shocking.
I don't care about your rankings, Dad, except for when you're number 1. You really like it.
Minnesota Timberwolves. They have a chance to be number 1, not just in the West, but in the NBA. Wouldn't that be something?
Kind of would.
Consecutive years in the NBA, which, you know, we went through the LeBron is unto himself, so he won titles for he won a title for Cleveland, but I mean, he could have been on the moon and he would have won. He was just that good. So the point I'm making is we could have, and we had for years, you know, with Golden State, big market, blah, blah, blah. We could have Denver and Minnesota in back-to-back years, which I think is great for the league. I don't care what the TV ratings are. I think it's great for the league that more teams, if you do things right, if you draft right, no one's clamoring to go to Minnesota in the way they are the Lakers, obviously. And I don't think anybody's clamoring to go to Denver in the way they are the Lakers. And you draft right, make great personnel decisions, which both of these franchises have done. A huge trade, 2 trades, Conley and Gobert, and draft right and get McDaniels. Guys, McDaniels, folks, was available when the Jazz drafted Azubuike. That's not the right draft to pick. I mean, but, you know, I'm not cracking on anybody in the draft. It's just the point being that they took McDaniels out of Washington late in the first round. He's a starter. They win Game 7. They beat the defending champions, and away they go. That's pretty sweet. And now we'll see what they do against Dallas. When's that start, Yak? Wednesday?
It's Wednesday, correct.
You're a big Dallas fan.
I like the show. Victoria Principal.
Victoria Principal. Wow. I remember
Linda
the only
Gray.
reason why I was even aware of what that show was when I was a kid is because
Victoria Principal.
No. No, this is similar to that, but it's not exactly the same. Is in the beginning of the show, they would flash through the Dallas Cowboys like stadium. Remember the old stadium that had like the hole in the roof because that's where God watched the game from. Right, is what they said. Yeah. But then they had a quick flash of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Oh,
and then I was like, oh no, this isn't what I thought it was. That's the only reason why I knew what the show Dallas was when I was a kid is because you'd see like the opening credits and that was like part of the like opening, whatever.
And so then the Pacers eliminating the Knicks. I think they'll lose to Boston, though. That starts tomorrow. We'll see how that plays out. But 2 road teams win Game 7s, which I also think is good for the league in that they don't have to have home court. But at the same time, it totally devalues the regular season to an extent. But, I mean, Minnesota, what did they finish? Third, so they're, one of the better teams. You can't blow off the regular season, but it's just a curse to the NBA because the NBA playoffs are really, really good. And yesterday were, especially the second game, Pacers.
You think Minnesota or Dallas wins?
I'm going to go with Minnie. Yeah.
So you think Minnesota and Boston?
Yeah, I do.
So great. So I'm going to see a lot of Kevin Garnett over the freaking.
Probably because he was obviously with both teams, won the title with the Celtics, and
I can't wait to see more of him.
He's been the best player I think in franchise history for Minnesota, and we'll see what happens in the coming years if Anthony Edwards can overcome that. But if these guys win the title, man, that would just be something off the charts. I was down in Phoenix a few weeks ago, and I golfed with a guy from Minnesota. He's a young guy, 32 years old, and, man, he knew everything about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Plus, he says to me, I tell him what I do and blah, blah, blah. And he says, man, Kessler had a really good rookie season, but dropped off a little bit this year. That surprised me. And I thought, whoa, dude, you know your stuff. If you know Kessler, you're a Minnesota fan, you're living in the Phoenix area, and you know that Kessler maybe didn't live up to follow up the sophomore season the way he did the freshman year. I thought, that's a guy who follows sports. That's pretty detailed. And we know it because we follow him every day here. But this is a guy, big, huge Minnesota fan. So I was thinking of him when the Timberwolves did their thing. And I'm happy for Gobert, and I'm happy for Conley, and that's great. And Chris Finch, not a big celebrity coach, getting his opportunity, cashing in. Just think about it. Last year at this time, right at the end of the regular season, Gobert was trying to punch Kyle Anderson on the sidelines during a game. And they didn't go crazy and all the trade, it was it really something? Gobert takes a lot of crap because he makes a ton of money and he doesn't put the ball in the hole. And so a lot of times he looks awkward. He looks like a giraffe with taking those big steps. But he's helping the team win, and if they win the title, it's all that matters. So I'll be pulling for Minnesota the rest of the way. I don't have anything against any of these other teams, but I'll be pulling for Minnesota.
It's fun to watch. I just watching the end of the game last night, and I had some other things going on, and I tuned in. I feel like it was I think it was like 72-69 when I tuned into the game, and to watch Anthony Edwards' willingness to play defense and to like come up on the ball,
which is important because he didn't have it going on,
right? And by all accounts, he didn't play a great offensive game.
No, he's like 6 of 24.
But he was doing what he could to contribute to the team. It was refreshing.
100%.
It was refreshing, and his on-ball defense. I was just thinking to myself, man, that would be a really tough guy to have all over you. Yeah. Defensively, like what would you do?
Yeah,
and
what was it? Jokic and Murray had good games, but nobody else did much of anything. Those role players really stunk.
Well, and Jokic and Murray played good in the first half because Anthony Edwards was covering Murray like a blanket in the second half.
Yeah,
it wasn't the same.
And I think the story of the morning, I'm sure Jock would agree with me on this, is that Riley Jensen, former college quarterback and mental health performance coach, is guaranteed us that Isaac Wilson in 25 will be the starting quarterback at the
Just call me Joe Namath.
Then Heisman Trophy winner in 26. We got it.
Oh,
did I say that?
Took it up a level.
I don't remember saying that.
I think it was
weird.
intimated.
Was it?
Now that I think about it, I can see where Yak took that from.
Okay, guys. I'm going to go with the pitch here. I'm not going to fight against you because apparently if I get defensive.
Who's he going with?
I'm going with the pitch.
Oh, pitch. Oh. I did. Yeah, I was confused.
Going with the pitch.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm gonna back down.
Well, you know
the
the family, you know the kid, and so you probably worked with them, or for all I know. So yeah, you're putting it out there.
I just think they're a pretty tough family. Like I don't see Isaac Wilson going to the University of Utah and going backwards as far as his performance goes.
Okay. Well, gosh, if he goes forward upon what he did in high school, I think Yak's saying the only thing that he was wrong about is that he said he'd win the Heisman in 26. I think it would have to be 25.
Which is exactly what I'm intimating, right?
Yeah. I guess he'd have to play 26 before he became the number one pick. Because you got to go 3 years.
Maybe 3 years removed.
Yeah. I forgot about that for a second.
Jake, don't jump in on this. You're a bad person.
Well, let's put it this way: his brother was taken number 2 in the draft, so there's only one other
You're a
way
bad
he
person.
can go.
What you're doing right now, and I see what you're doing, is bad. It's just you're not a good person.
Really bad. Stay with us. We'll wrap up the show next. Get you ready for Jake and Ben right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
Got to put a bow on it, I've been told. Are you happy for Rudy and Mike Conley? We put that question up on Facebook. Yeah, 35 comments, man. People are generally ecstatic for our guys. Some say once they leave, I don't care. Rudy and Mike are overpaid. Everybody's overpaid. Joshua, very happy for them. Hope they win it all. Riley, you're a man of the Utah people. This is where your home is. This is where you were born. This is where you will die, hopefully in many, many years. And you're happy for them. You speak for the people, do you not?
Yes. I'm representing all people.
Yes.
No.
What do you mean no?
I don't represent anybody.
Yeah,
I barely represent myself.
You sort of, you're a Utah guy. I'm not a Utah guy. I'm not a native. I didn't grow up rooting for the Jazz.
I know. Somehow when you say it, though, like I want to push against you.
In what way?
Because like you're saying, like, it's not cool to be from Utah.
Well, if I was from Utah, it would be cool from Utah. I'm not from here.
I don't get all the feels from you.
Hey, I want to see the Jazz win. It's better for business. It's more fun to cover and talk about a winning team. But I don't have that. You know what it is when you grow up and you're a fan of the team since birth.
I feel like I'm on the defensive because I'm from Utah.
You
feel like I'm on the defensive because I said that Isaac Wilson will start at the U. I feel like I'm on the defensive.
Well,
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Okay, Scotty Scheffler.
See what I mean? Scotty Scheffler feels like he didn't do anything wrong, and it's on the defensive.
You're a Utah guy, and hey, some of my best friends are Utah people.
Some,
yeah, not all. I've lived in 4 different states. I get around. You folks are, you're basically soft, but so what?
See what I mean? See, you couldn't leave it alone, could you?
You let me into it. You baited me.
You couldn't.
You baited me.
Listen, Max Hall's mom, I did not bait you into anything.
So you're a little on the soft side. That's okay.
My gosh.
That's all right. I still love yous.
Unbelievable.
You're good people at heart. A little naive, a little, backwards, but it's okay.
Why do I feel like I'm talking to Bob Petrino, my offensive coordinator? Some bass-ackwards people now.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm okay with it. So, but you've been in Friday and today, obviously.
Best 2 days of my life.
And we appreciate it. Riley Jensen, mental health performance coach, also wrote a book. Tell us about the book.
It's called Pure Unadulterated Guts. Put it on Amazon, talking about confidence, how to build confidence in your kids, your employees, yourself.
Yeah.
I'm a little overconfident, so it might be an entertaining book.
There you go. What's the name of it again?
Pure unadulterated guts.
Pure unadulterated guts, and you can go online and get it.
Yeah, on Amazon you can get it. You can get it on Audible. You can get it on Amazon. You can buy an ebook. I think it's $2.99 if you want to read on your phone.
Yeah, there you go. Check it out. Thanks for sitting in. We appreciate it. We appreciate your insight and your desire to come in and help us out when the Snig Dog is on vacation. He'll be back tomorrow. And we will be reunified and reunited, and it will feel so good, as will Jake and Ben. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.